in Kwego Village, Robate location, Tharaka Nithi County, which was reported by police on the following day, 19th of March 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, on 18th of March 2023, a Mr. Leonard Njeru Mbuba from Robate location reported that his cousin, Daniel Mutembei, a male adult approximately 34 years, had been attacked the previous night by known people, according to the report, severely and critically injured, left for the dead, rained on for the rest of the night, recognized by villagers early in the morning who were taking milk to the collection point, still alive early in the morning. Mr. Speaker, although critically injured, it was reported that Mr. Mutembei was able to talk and identified those that attacked him and gave their names, 5 suspects. He was taken to hospital, but the injuries were already too much and he succumbed at the Chuka Referral Hospital. He succumbed to the injuries. That report was made and entered into the OB. Mr. Speaker, sir, and just for the clarity of the member and the House, that report was made the same morning of 19th March 2023. Investigations ensued, and before any statements could be taken from any of the suspects, the same suspects went to the Chuka High Court and obtained anticipatory bail, restraining their arrest and prosecution until the matter is heard and determined, or until further orders were issued by the High Court. Those orders, Mr. Speaker, sir, were issued by Lady Justice Lucy Gistari of the Chuka High Court on 27th of March 2023, and the order specifically restrained the police from arresting the said persons. The orders also required that the matter be heard today, the 12th of April 2023. Today, the matter came up for mention, and Mr. Speaker, I can report to the House that in the morning, the parties were heard, and I can also report to the House, Mr. Speaker, that for us in the ministry, we instructed the State Council to represent those parties that against whose orders were given, including the Inspector General of Police, the DCI, and all those who were sued. The family of the victim, the late Mutembei, also had hired a lawyer this morning, and both Mr. Mutembei's lawyer and the State Council made a very, very strong argument in an oral application for 2 things. One, the vacation of the anticipatory bail, which was lapsing today, that it should not be extended. And 2, warrants of arrest to issue against the suspects And both the deceased lawyer and the State Counsel were on one page, of course, against the opposition from the Defense Counsel. The ruling on this matter is before the judge this afternoon at 2:30, the same time that the minister is appearing before this House. In between, Mr. Speaker, on Saturday, the 8th of April, which is Easter Saturday, the victims were supposed to bury the late Mutembei, but they felt that this matter had taken too long and could not understand why a matter where there was, in their view, overwhelming evidence pointing at the killers should still be out there. And notwithstanding the anticipatory bail, they demanded that the arrest be done. There was a serious demonstration for most of the afternoon on Saturday, from 3 p.m. to well into the night. They were carrying the coffin of the late Mutembei and demonstrated the whole afternoon, engaging the police in running battles. The police tried to talk to them diplomatically to bury the deceased as we wait for the finalization of the matter by way of appearance before court today, but they could hear none of it. In fact, Mr. Speaker, the protesters engaged police in throwing missiles when the police tried to use tear gas, and it was really a very, very rowdy protest. And of course, one would understand the public anger, given the circumstances which the deceased had died. Mr. Speaker, sir, the police were able to open the road much later in the night, but an incident occurred around 7 p.m. the same night. One of the local young leaders, the chairperson of the Tharaka Nithi Border Association, one Willis Mugambi, alias Kiraku, was shot dead in the chest around 7 p.m. and died on the spot. And that complicated the matter. And immediately that happened the same night, we dispatched, through the Inspector General of Police, the Internal Affairs Unit of the National Police Service from Nairobi. The head of the Internal Affairs Unit actually was dispatched the same night to Chuka to travel there and personally take over the investigations, mainly the investigations around the shooting of Willis Mugambi, alias Kiraku, because it was alleged again by some who made reports that they suspected that he could have been killed by a police officer in the process of the riots. So we dispatched the Internal Affairs Unit. It's still there. We have crucial evidence, and we believe very shortly we'll be narrowing down to the person who shot and killed Mr. Mugambi. At the same time, the Independent Police Oversight Authority, the following day on Sunday, dispatched their team to investigate that incident. IPOA is independent. So while the internal investigations by the police is handled by the Internal Affairs Unit from Nairobi, the IPOA team also from Nairobi is handling an independent investigation so that there are no perceptions of internal collusion or preference whatsoever. The two teams are working, and I am told a lot of progress has been made, but up to now, the investigations are not concluded. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, in between, we have reinforced security presence as late as last night, there were incidents of, again, a few youths trying to block roads. And we have deployed the regional police commander, Mr. Rono Bunei from Embu for Eastern Region. He's the one personally dealing with that matter because, again, there were aspersions cast at our officers who are based in Chuka. Both the officer commanding Chuka Police Station and the county commander for Tharaka Nithi County. I can report, Right Honorable Speaker, that as we speak, in the meantime, we felt that in order to build public confidence in our officers, the Inspector General of the National Police Service has transferred both the OCS of Chuka Police Station and the County Police Commander of Tharaka Nithi, and new officers have been put in place already as we speak. So that's where we are, Mr. Speaker. We do not have any conclusive evidence. I want to assure the House that, one, we will respect the outcome of the court decision regarding the anticipatory bail, which we have opposed through the State Council. Once that anticipatory bail is lifted, and based on the evidence we have, all suspects are going to be rounded up in minutes. But we cannot violate a court order, and we really hope that our case will be favored by the judge this afternoon to allow us continue with the justice process beyond the point it is at the moment. With regard to the killers of Mr. Kiraku, the Boda Boda chair, again, we believe in the next few days we will be able to have enough evidence to help us take action, including prosecution of the suspect. I think, Honorable Speaker, that is all I have up to now. I remain at the disposal of this House for any supplementary issues, and also with regard to the other questions that are listed in the order paper this afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Major Dong, do you have any supplementary to that on behalf of your colleague?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would say that thanks to the Cabinet Secretary for answering the same question, and having originated from the same county, I believe the Cabinet Secretary understands well, and he will be able to deal with that matter conclusively. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That is a comment, Minister. You need not answer. Morugara. Now, those who want to ask supplementaries, you go to interventions, and I'll give only 3.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, the Cabinet Secretary, for that response. But I do have a supplementary question on behalf of the family of the late Willis Mugambi Kiraku as follows. What measures will the government put in place to ensure that the family of the late Willis Mugambi Kiraku, the Boda Boda chairman Tharaka Nithi, who was fatally shot on the 8th of April 2023, is properly, sufficiently, and adequately compensated for the loss of their kin without undue delay? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister, you note the 3 supplementaries that will follow each other, then you answer. Robert Mbui.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Having been a victim of police violence, I think it's important to ask this because I know forensic evidence can show the gun that shot the bullet that killed that young Boda Boda rider, and also very many young boys and girls who were killed during the recent demos. I just wanted to confirm from the CS, are shoot-to-kill orders the acceptable by this regime of Kenya Kwanza that you serve? And do the police bosses understand the Constitution and the right of Kenyans to be able to picket under Article 37? Thank you.
The Honorable Pauline Lenguris, Samburu Women Rep.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I want to conjoin my question to the Minister, and I want to thank him for the response, and want to request him that the killing of young, innocent people has become rampant in this country. A case in point are also the killings that are brought about by the bandits. Every day, we are losing two people every day in the presence of security officers. I want to base my case in Samburu, for example, just related to that case, because killing is just a killing. We are losing people every day. And the minister is aware, I'm sure, is being briefed every day that people are being killed by the bandits who come to displace people in their homes. They are killing in the presence of the security officers who are there, the army, the GSU, the police. So we are wondering, what are these security officers doing when innocent people are being killed each and every day? We have lost properties. In 2 months, in Samburu, for example, we have lost 30 young men and 1 middle-aged woman. We cannot continue in this trend, Mr. Professor Kindiki. Please do something. And if the security officers are overpowered by the bandits, tell us, then we will plan ourselves to deal with them properly. Thank you.
The last supplementary minister I'll give for Minority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Just as a follow-up to the question originally asked by Mr. Honorable Munene, Mr. Minister, Bwana Waziri, I must really appreciate the speed with which your ministry dispatched the Internal Affairs Unit and indeed the IPOA to carry out investigations on the fatal shooting of Mr. Mugambi in Chuka. Mr. Speaker, we have similar, more or less similar cases that have happened in the recent past. A case in point is the fatal shooting of a third-year Maseno University student, William Mayenga, in Maseno University by the police on the 20th, I think, of March this year. The second incident is the killing by being run over by a police vehicle of police officer Ben Oduor of Nyamira, or of Keroka Police Station, Nyamira County. Bwana Waziri, could you confirm to the August House if you have similarly, in those instances, dispatched the Internal Affairs Unit to carry out investigations? And if so, what is the progress of those investigations? What is the status of those investigations? Or could we be seeing a case of double standards, application of the law differently in different situations, in different parts of the country, and concerning different communities? 2, is it now a policy of the Kenya Police Service to quell riots by use of live bullets? Is the old policy of using rubber bullets now discarded? And if so, when did this change in policy occur? And for whose benefit? Thank you.
Minister, there is a member, Honorable Kamren, who says that if he doesn't ask a supplementary, it will not be good for him today. I'll give him a minute, then you can answer the 5 questions.
Asante Bwana Spika. Nataka nichukue nafasi hii Spika. Ya nashukuru waziri amejaribu, lakini ninapoongea saa hii vita inaendelea kwangu Baringo South. Sasa hivi ninapoongea na kijana mmoja tumepoteza maisha, 3 wameumia. Nimetumana pesa ya meli kwenda kuwachukua wale ambao wameumia, na nimetumana gari kwenda kuchukua mwili, na saa hii ng'ombe imeenda watu wanakimbia, wanahangaika kwa sehemu ya Kiserian, Mkutane na Rukus. Najua waziri alikuwa kwa huko hapo awali, lakini saa hii imekuwa chungu kwamba kazi hii ya bandits inaendelea. Sijui waziri utafanya namna gani kwamba watu wangu wapata amani. Nimeomba kila wakati kwamba au wakora watolewe Rukus, Mkutane na Arabal locations. Au wamechukua hiyo locations sote tatu. Hakuna mtu naishi mashule, mpaka hata bandits wenyewe wanaishi kwa mashule. Ile tuliyochenga kwa CDF. Nitakuwa nikicomplain mara ngapi? Watu wangu hawana bunduki. Mimi sio kama wale wengine wana bunduki wanaweza kujiokoa. Sisi hatuna bunduki. Waziri na anaelewa. Naomba kwamba nahitaji amani na hii watu wangu ambao wameumia saa hii kwa sababu sijui hata ni ngapi. Naomba kwamba waziri tutafanya nini hii vita saa hii isimame na watu wangu warejee na hiyo ng'ombe imechukuliwa irudi na serikali wanisaidie. Hiyo mwili ambaye imeenda na hao watu naumia serikali wakaramie. Asante sana.
Minister, you may answer those 6 supplementaries. Be precise and concise. Given the tremendous interest, I might give another 2 thereafter.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, with regard to the supplementary question raised by the member for Tharaka, I would like to respond as follows. That at this point, when investigations are ongoing, we do not have conclusive evidence on who would have shot the deceased. However, if the evidence links an officer of the National Police Service or any other government official in the murder of Mr. Kiraku, 2 things I would like to assure the House. 1, whoever is responsible will be prosecuted. And 2, if the person has died in the hands of our officers, the procedures for compensation will ensue. Honorable Speaker, with regard to the question raised by the Honorable Mbui, I would like to respond as follows. There are no shoot-to-kill orders. On the contrary, all officers in the National Police Service and all security agencies who are involved in managing public protests, demonstrations, and riots, and crowd control are under very strict instructions not to use live bullets when dealing with members of the public. In fact, Honorable Speaker, the reason the OCPD was transferred is because there were very strict orders given by the Inspector General of Police that there should be no live bullets used in crowd control, not just in Chuka, but even in other protests. So we want to give some independence so that we establish when the OCPD is not in office, if indeed it's a police officer who fired that killer bullet against the orders and the policy of this government, then action will be taken. But of course, it could have been any other firearm holder because there are civilians also who are licensed to carry arms and they could take advantage of riots to cause deaths. Honorable Speaker, the third supplementary question was raised by the member for Samburu. And I want to assure the House, through you, Mr. Speaker, that the deaths that have been caused in Samburu and other parts of the country as a result of livestock rustling and banditry are regrettable. 2, we have had an operation going on there, but we continue to experience incidents of bandit attacks from time to time. Honorable Speaker, what has happened is that we have been able to dominate the permanent abodes where we suspected bandits were hiding whenever they steal livestock. And because of international standards on the use of force, that is the only reason we gave 24-hour ultimatum to any members of the civil population who could have been mixed up in these areas by way of being family members to the bandits, etc., to vacate. After that, we have been able to actually remove and dominate those areas and remove the threats that used to exist in those areas. But the spiral, what has happened is that during that window of notice we had given to be able to ensure that we don't have civilian casualties, some of these criminals could have mixed with the population. And because the security forces cannot be everywhere and guard every homestead, they are making sporadic raids, sometimes successful. But, Mr. Speaker, we have prevented and thwarted and even recovered livestock numerous times on a daily basis. I am even willing to table within the time that we have had an operation in the north, how many livestock have been stolen in all those counties, how many have been recovered, and where, and how many are outstanding. We have not made full recoveries, and the reason is simple, that as soon as a raid is successful, the criminals divide the livestock into small numbers, 5, 10. So the recovery process is a bit slow, painful, but we've made some significant recoveries. I have evidence as late as yesterday, we have recovered livestock in Laikipia. So, Mr. Speaker, the challenge is still there. We do not want to deny that the challenge does not exist. And, Mr. Speaker, this challenge has not started this year, last year, 5 years, 10 years. This is a problem that started as early as 1977 in some parts of these areas. We are doing everything possible to make sure that we have a final end of this problem. It cannot be done in a month, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year, but we will reach there. It doesn't matter what it takes. We appeal for patience, we appeal for understanding, and we know that we will get around it as soon as we continue this domination of these areas where the bandits retreat when they steal livestock. In fact, Honorable Speaker, we are upscaling the numbers of security agencies we have. We are doubling them on Saturday. And as I've announced, this deployment will not cease with the end of the operation. Whenever the operation will be called off, the security agencies will remain there for as long as Kenya exists, to ensure that this problem does not recur. Because previously we have done an operation, as soon as there is a semblance of tranquility, we recall the security agencies. Honorable Speaker, therefore, the supplementary question was raised by the member for Ugunja, the Honorable P.O. Wandai. And I would like to assure the House, through you, Honorable Speaker, that the government has no double standards or does not respond to security threats based on where they happen. In the matters that the Honorable Wandai has raised, in fact, we acted even faster. But there was no question asked for us to report what we have done. So I want to confirm to the House, the Honorable Speaker, that the same measures we have applied in Chuka are the same measures that have applied in this instance. The Internal Affairs Unit, as we speak, is on the ground. The IPOA is also on the ground to provide independent investigations. So there are no double standards, and I think I can comprehensively say I am the minister who has been in most parts of the country, given that I've only served for slightly under 6 months. I've been in almost 70% of Kenya. So there cannot be double standards. And I don't know the last time I was near my home. So if there will be double standards, I'll be accused of not going home, Honorable Speaker, not the other way around. Honorable Speaker, with regard to the fifth one, the fifth supplementary question raised by the Honorable Kamuren, because the one by the Honorable Wandai about live bullets, I've already said. The instructions are on the contrary, no live bullets. That's why you have seen, even in the most dramatic protests that we've had recently, we have not had casualties. We've not had deaths. And wherever deaths have occurred, like the Kisumu death and the one death in Kibera, the investigations will help us know whether this was a police gun or a civilian gun, because as I have said, both the police and civilians are licensed holders of firearms. If we establish anybody has violated the rules and the standing orders of the National Police Service, action will be taken. Honorable Speaker, finally, the supplementary question raised by the Honorable Kamren. I've been to Baringo, perhaps a little more than any other county, both overtly and covertly. I have been there visibly and invisibly. I know the complications and I understand the pain Honorable Kamren is going through. I share it, and I know what he's going through today. We have discussed with the leadership of Baringo and the other stakeholders and our security commanders on the ground that we must come round this problem so that it's just beyond recovering livestock which was stolen today. For me, I believe we must have a way of ensuring that no livestock is stolen again in the first place. What are the measures we are putting in place? One, this afternoon, we have just approved an additional 200 police reservists for Baringo, 100 for Baringo North, 100 for Baringo South. Training is going to start before Friday because we believe the security agencies cannot be in every homestead. But the National Police Reservice can help mitigate a big way. And we have seen in other parts of the country, NPRs are helping stabilize the situation in a big way. So we have approved that. I have provided the money for their training immediately. We will not be asking for any stakeholders to help us. We will do it, and that will stabilize. Number two, we are opening up 2 new security roads. We are moving equipment to make sure that we make security roads, which we have discussed, especially in Baringo North, and I am looking for an opportunity to have a discussion with Honorable Kamburen on 2 major roads that will take care of Arabal, Mukutane, Ngelecha, and that interface between Arabal Hills, Mukutane, and into the Laikipia Nature Conservancy, which is giving us a lot of problems because of the reasons which I've explained. So, Mr. Speaker, we are not there, but we are on the way there. I am going back to the operation area, and I am going to stick there a little longer. And I know between us and the political leadership, we'll find a lasting solution through security roads, through NPRs, and through intelligence-led investigations. Mr. Speaker, I think that's all for now. And once again, the Honorable Kamuren, the information you've given me will be acted on immediately I leave this chamber. Maybe we can talk and discuss how we can support you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Milemba, what is out of order? Give Omboko Milemba the mic.
With the humility, Honorable Speaker, the Waziri did dare both you and the House that he can table the recoveries in all those areas. And what we see in the media gives an impression that
the government is not doing as much, like the bandits are doing so much. So could you please, Honorable Speaker, if I'm in order, to order that the minister tables those documents immediately so that the people from those areas and Wananchi in general can have confidence in the progress. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I think it's not papers but statistics that he promised to table. Minister, when we are done, you can pass on the document, the statistics to us. Now, honorable members, I still have members who have worked here, 8 in number, and on the screen I have 11 who are interested in this question. This is a trial run, like I said, and we said we'll be having about 3 supplementaries. But because the members who have come here can take judicial notice are mostly from the epicenter of the security challenges, indulge me to give them a minute each to ask 1 question each. I don't give you an opportunity to make a speech or to go to unhelpful tirades. Ask a supplementary to the minister, and I'll also ask him to oblige the House with short answers to save on our time. Member for Manyata. And I also notice, honorable members, honorable member for Manyata, you've seen me and you've said you want to ask a question about the Kianjokoma brothers. Now, that is totally unrelated to what is going on now. But you can ask. It is good if you have a question that you want to ask, file one and the minister will come and answer.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
Why I wrote Kenjakoma brother is because we are still reeling in loss of those 2 young brothers and we have not recovered up to date. And Honorable Speaker, I first want to say thank you to Waziri because he has really shown a lot of restraint during mandamanos on the issue of using police force. Honorable Speaker, my question is on the investigation, efficiency of investigation of extrajudicial killing. And we have a case here where police body investigates itself. And I would like Waziri to kindly give us an overview because he has come in as a new blood with a very nice team that can help improve this issue. But, Honorable Speaker, many extrajudicial killings that we have had, including the Yala River famous killings, Honorable Speaker, we would like to know what he is doing as a ministry in terms of policy level to improve on the efficiency of police investigation. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Turkana Central, 1 minute. Give the member for Turkana Central. There's a mic next to you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this chance, and also I join the rest of the members in thanking the CS for being the pioneer CS to appear before the House. First, as we speak here today, Honorable Speaker, there are families, more than 50 households that have lost their animals, their livestock, in the 1 a.m. raid in Turkana Central, in Turkana East, and in Turkana South. The animals are being driven towards Tiati as we speak, and we are still pursuing the bandits as we speak. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in Uganda, there are Turkanas, 32 of them, who are cordoned, wrapped up, and imprisoned through the court-martial in Uganda. One question that I want to ask is, why is the CS not able to implement such also in Kenya, where the caves, the gorges, and the places he mentioned in the Gazette notice, why is there no action in terms of cordoning and even wrapping up the bandits in those areas?
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Number 2, Honorable Chair.
1 question.
Okay.
You are done, Honorable Member. Baringo North. Yes, Honorable Junet. Hold on, Honorable. Give Honorable Junet the mic.
Hello, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for indulging me, Mr. Speaker. If I heard the member very clearly, he said, Mr. Speaker, that cows are being taken to Tiati as we speak now here.
No,
and the member of Parliament for Tiati is here, Mr. Speaker.
He said they're headed towards Tiati.
Towards Tiati, Mr. Speaker.
Which is different from being taken to
And
Tiati.
the member of Parliament for Tiati is here, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, could he explain this matter a bit further, whether the cows are going to his home, Mr. Speaker?
That is for... I invite the member for Baringo North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll utilize the 1 minute as follows. One, Mr. Speaker, this is the only cabinet secretary alive in security who has actually spent his energy and time and resources.
Ask your question.
So I want to thank him. Number one question, Mr. Speaker, my intelligence is that the bandit that was taken away in hospital in Iten is the one that killed my cousin. And he was taken by 10 bandits in an hospital in Iten, driven to wherever by the other bandits. Could the minister therefore tell us when that wounded bandit who was in hospital will be brought to book? And my last question, Mr. Speaker, I still have the 1 minute, Mr. Speaker. When is the minister going to operationalize the gazetted administrative units in Baringo North? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. There was a member who wanted to ask about the abduction of the injured bandit, so you don't have to rise to ask that question. Honorable Ariko. Ariko from Turkana, is it Loima?
South.
Turkana South.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to appreciate this opportunity. I want to voice what is happening in Turkana South and Turkana East. Honorable Speaker, I request to ask a supplementary question with regards to the capacity of our security agencies. Honorable Speaker, what is happening in Turkana? We have experienced rampant raids, which we cannot explain the intention of these raids. Honorable Speaker, yesterday, my constituency experienced 3 raids, both in one ward called Katil Ward. It happened at 1 p.m. and again a repeated one at 5 a.m. Honorable Speaker, I wish to ask the Minister for Interior, CS Professor Kindiki, do we have a capacity as a country to handle this internal conflict? Because there has been a recurrent raids or conflict in this country. What are the plans now that our security agencies on the ground are experiencing shortage of resources to handle this conflict? Honorable Speaker, as at now, we have surveillance vehicles, we have KDF, we have a number of security agencies in Turkana South. But unfortunately, the response we are experiencing, this response can only happen during the daytime. The bandits have come up with a new strategy. And this strategy is only to raid at night. When our security agents are sleeping, they cannot operate at night. Honorable Speaker, what is the take of our CS with regards to this matter? Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Speaker.
Hold on. Thank you, Honorable Ariko. Avoid the temptation to make a speech in the guise of a question. Honorable Kangogo.
Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, Mr. Kindiki. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the Cabinet Secretary, the National Police, Mr. CS, they don't have the capacity to handle the bandits in Kerio Valley. Mr. Speaker, on Friday, peacemakers from West Pokot and my constituents, Mr. Speaker, recovered about 7 heads of cattle, and they were taken to a CSU camp in a place called Kamele, so that to be handed over to the owners the following day. Mr. Speaker, that night, a daring bandits entered into a CSU camp and took away all the animals. On Friday, Mr. Speaker, the same thing which the honorable member for Baringo North talked about. A bandit who was arrested and taken to county headquarters in Iten, where we have about 100 policemen. The county headquarters, Mr. Speaker. And then 10 bandits came all the way about 200 kilometers away to rescue their own, and they successfully took away from the police. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the CS to confirm to this House, Mr. Speaker, that the National Police Service are unable to handle the bandits, and bring a motion to this House so that we can have the Kenya military or the KDF to take over the operations of bandits in Kerio Valley.
The women rep Turkana, she's left. Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
1 minute.
Okay, thank you. I only have a very brief question to the CS. Right now, we're being told that the person who was booked in at Iten County Referral was a bandit. Was there any OB elsewhere booked that particular person had previously been identified as a bandit or not? And then we would wish to know, was he taken by the police, or if there are other people who came to the county referral and took him, if people are calling them bandits, can they name them by their names? So what I wish to know is, was there an OB elsewhere that Dennis was booked as a bandit? And the other ones who came to the rescue, were they police, or if as bandits? Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Speaker.
you. Last, the Honorable Farah Maalim.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr.
Speaker,
Minister be ready to answer after Farah.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, be patient. If I'm satisfied there is enough interest, I'll give another round.
Mr. Speaker, this is, I must commend the government on this, because this is the first time the military has been used for a peacekeeping in this country where there was not a genocide the way it was done in Wagala, in Wajir in 1984. And my biggest worry was that this was going to be heavy, and it's going to be military is not for these kind of things. But the fact that you have protected the lives of the innocents and you're just looking for the actual bandits themselves deserves a lot of compliment. My question, Mr. Speaker, is, Mr. Minister, have you tried some soft power? Have you tried to find out how you can deal with the elders, with the communities, and bring the communities together, as opposed to maintaining basically law and order in that place. Have you also tried to look at the social issues that underpin? Because there's only one community that everybody's complaining about, the Pokots. The Pokots are the poorest, they are the least educated, there's the least what they call infrastructure in order.
Order, Farah. Order. The member from Balambala, you are out of order. Can you conclude your question?
Mr. Speaker, we need to educate those children, Mr. Speaker. We have heard this before, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Minister. Thank you very much. I've discussed some of these things with you, and I'm sure you're going to take them into consideration. But let's look at the social conditions in there, first of all. When you have a very poor social condition somewhere and everywhere around there has got some wealth, then of course they will go and try and go and attack those places. So my question is that let's look at soft power. It has worked in Northeastern Province, for your information. And also let's see how we can change the situation of the children of Pokot there. Thank you.
Who is raising a point of order? Moroto, what is your point of order? Because Pokots were mentioned?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I want to say thank you very much for giving me also this chance to say, when these people are talking, they are talking as if they are the holiest. When they are also killing. I lost about 5 people the other day and this morning in a Takwel. From the south.
I've given you a floor because you are challenging what Farah was saying. Now you are pursuing a totally different agenda. What was out of order that Farah was saying, that's the reason why I gave you the floor.
No, Mr. Speaker, I was just asking what I have in my mind. I was not following what Farah said. My question, I just want to, Mr. Speaker, I don't want to take time. I want to congratulate the CS, and I want to ask him to use the intelligence services. For these guys here speaking here, let them also be put in so that they can know how to control themselves down there on the ground. I come from Kapenguria. We used to have the problem between West Pokot and Trans Nzoia. But this time, there's nothing there. Because we met and we sat like leaders and walked together. These guys, now they're now talking here, and they cannot even go to ground, and they invite us to come and tell them what to do. Mr. Minister, start with these people. The members, put them in.
Honorable Moroto, you are totally out of order. You are imputing improper motives on your colleagues. Minister. Minister, if you can give quick, short answers to those short questions. We still have 4 questions for you, and we have done very poorly. 45 minutes on this one.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I will do as guided on the first matter. On allow me, Mr. Speaker, to say on the issue that was raised on a point of order about tabling statistics on recoveries of livestock. I didn't say I'm carrying the statistics. I said if the House directs, I can table them in the House even by Tuesday.
You that way?
Yes,
you can,
Mr. Speaker, I can, if you direct,
yes.
I can table the statistics of recoveries from the time the operation began. In fact, we can even take it backwards a bit, 2 months before, and these 2 months when there have been an operation, and the recoveries and where and what is remaining. Mr. Speaker, also, I maybe inform the House through you that I am informed that the High Court in Chuka has ruled in favor of the Prosecution Council and in favor of the state to cancel the anticipatory bail on the suspected killers. Mr. Speaker, other than that, let me mention or respond to the other issues quickly. We are strengthening the independent police oversight authority to supplement the work of the Internal Affairs Unit of the National Police Service to provide an independent arm of the state that can help in dealing with extrajudicial killings. I confirm to the House, Mr. Speaker, and assure the House and the member for Manyata that all extrajudicial instances of extrajudicial killings are actively under investigation, and the policy of this administration is zero tolerance on extrajudicial killings. The police officers have been informed accordingly that we shall not protect any officer who misuses their firearm to kill people other than what the law provides on the use of lethal force in law enforcement. Honorable Speaker, with regard, and that includes the issue around the killing in Kianjokoma. Mr. Speaker, the second one, raised by the member for Baringo North, the Honorable Makilap, that yes, it's true there was that incident, and I want to tie that to the other supplementary question raised by the member for Elgeyo Marakwet, the women rep, because they are related. There was an incident at Iten Hospital. The suspect involved, the person involved is a suspected bandit because he had bullet wounds and he could not explain where he was shot, and he just came to look for treatment. And we believe also that the people who came to rescue him were criminals because they came through the fence of the hospital. So they just came perhaps to rescue one of their own who was hurt and could not explain. The reason why that happened, notwithstanding the presence of a few police officers who were on site at that time, was the determination by the commanding officer on site that a shootout inside that facility would have caused fatalities on patients. And that gave a leeway for the rescue to succeed. I want to confirm to the House, through you, Mr. Speaker, that this person has been on police radar even before this attack. We are on him. We have some leads. We believe we shall arrest him as soon as possible. Honorable Speaker, the other issue was raised by the member for Turkana South on the capacity of our police agencies to maintain law and order. Honorable Speaker, I am persuaded that Kenya has enough police officers and enough wherewithal to handle all our challenges, including the challenges we are facing in northern Kenya. However, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that it is the position of this government that there is need to reform our national security organs to make sure that they respond better to our threats. That is why one of the first acts His Excellency the President undertook was to institute a presidential task force on reforming the National Police Service, which is an admission that there is need to reform around command, around efficiency, and around operational sophistication to make sure that the gaps that we continue to exist, to encounter in our law enforcement of our internal security are resolved. Very shortly, that task force will present its findings. The government has committed to implement all the recommendations without exception that will come from that task force, including changing the entire command of the National Police Service, the terms under which one becomes a commander of any level, tying command to success and results and deliverables, so that you don't become a county commander, a regional commander for life, and there are no results. People are still having insecurity in your area. Make it time-bound and tied to results. And even that reform, even as we wait for those recommendations, we are continually addressing command issues to ensure efficiency. Even this afternoon, I think the government and the National Police Service will be announcing changes in the top command of the National Police Service, starting with the appointment of the Deputy Inspector General of the Kenya Police Service, whose recruitment process is complete, and we have had a gap there for a long time because the immediate former Deputy Inspector General of Police was indisposed. But from this afternoon, that gap is going to be filled, and that will help the Inspector General perhaps to respond a little better and quicker, even as we wait for the other reforms. Honorable Speaker, I have one other last one, the one that was raised around the issue of what measures we are taking to make sure that the gaps we are having are sealed. One, the House may want to know that in 2014, the government started a police equipment modernization program, which ran for 3-4 years, but stopped after that. It was to the tune of 10 billion shillings a year. It really helped to improve the security at that time. But due to the collapse of that funding program, we have had issues around our ability to make Kenya safer. And what this administration has done is to revive the police equipment modernization program. And for the next 3 years, the government of Kenya will spend 20 billion shillings to ensure that we modernize our equipment. I am happy to return here if the House requires so in 3 months, because by that time, in 3 months from now, I expect to have revived the police air wing, which is completely dead. I intend to have acquired at least 3 gunship helicopters for the National Police Service so that we stop depending on the military, because they also have a national duty to perform. I intend to acquire some unmanned armored vehicles, UAVs or drones, and going forward, increasingly, we are going to yield the benefits of technology-driven, intelligence-driven operations. I am happy to come back and report progress on this after a few months on the request of the House. I think, Honorable Speaker, that is it. Maybe if I've left anything, I'll be reminded, but...
Only one, far as soft power engaging...
Soft power, I agree. Honorable Speaker, I agree. Thank you for the reminder, sir. We believe that the long-term solution of this problem is not just the hardware. But we have made a policy decision that before we can engage on long-term solutions, including issues of economic empowerment and social amenities, we must silence the guns first. We must do whatever it takes to make it rare that there is an attack, there is there's gunfire everywhere. And after that, now we can sit down and ask ourselves, why is it that this problem is recurring all the time? The ministry has developed a master plan in conjunction with other stakeholders, including the military, for infrastructural development of northern Kenya, which will begin from December this year, rebuilding schools, providing amenities, and also engaging communities for peace building, and that will now come with both disarmament, forceful and voluntary. But first, before we engage in any of these programs, Mr. Speaker, we are persuaded that we must silence the guns. As soon as we acquire the equipment we are looking at as the National Police Service, there will be a lot of change. But even as we speak, we have made a lot of changes in evacuating the gorges, the valleys, and the hideouts. And the attacks that are happening now are attacking in the criminals who may have used the window we had given for evacuation of civilians so that we comply with international law. That allowed a few, in our view, to escape and mingle with populations. And they are the ones giving us problems, which we are resolving through NPR and through the technology that we are acquiring in the next few weeks or months. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honourable members, I know there's much more interest on this, but we have to move to the next question. Question 074 of 2023. Member for Gilgil, Mother Wangari.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question 74 of 2023 to the Cabinet Secretary of Interior and National Administration. Number one, could the Cabinet Secretary explain why there is a shortage of birth registration materials, also known as B1 forms, in health facilities across the country? Number two, could the Cabinet Secretary explain why mothers in public hospitals, especially those on the national government Linda Mama program, are subjected to unnecessary detention after discharge as a result of unregistered births of their babies due to the above-mentioned shortage, yet it is the duty of the government to provide the B1 forms? And finally, what steps has the ministry taken to ameliorate the situation and ensure that mothers who are due for discharge are not forced to incur any additional bills due to the unjust detention in hospitals owing to the government's incapacity to promptly register births as a result of the lack of birth registration forms? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think this is a soft question.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, we admit that we have challenges in the availability of Form B1s. And this is a problem that started last year, around April 2022. And the challenge is arising from the capacity at the government press. The government press has not been modernized for a very long time. The equipment they have and the human resource capacity does not allow them to print enough security documents, including these forms, quick enough to meet the rising demand. Therefore, you will see in the response, the written response which I filed before this House, Mr. Speaker, I have attached 3 letters which we have written as a ministry to the government printer, requiring them to increase the speed at which they are supplying us with Form B1s. I can report to the House, Honorable Speaker, that the demand right now is the supply is 50 books of 400 forms per week, but the demand is over 1,000 books of that size. So you can see we are supplying less than, almost a third, less than half of the requirement. What measures are we taking? Other than writing letters, we have changed the management of the government printer because we also would believe that part of the challenge is the innovation of the leadership at that unit to provide off-balance sheet, off-budget solutions to some of the capacity challenges we are having. And I can report comfortably, after changing the management of the government press in the last 2 months, the new government printer has tabled, and I have approved, an equipment modernization program which will not even involve government spending any money because it's through a lease of equipment where over time we will pay whoever owns those machines and after 10 years we hand over the machines to him. That is the solution that helped us with police vehicles when the police leasing, vehicle leasing program was initiated. So we believe very soon that will be tackled. But in the meantime, we have asked the CRS, that is the Civil Registry Department or unit, Civil Registry Service Department, to give the government printer the projections for the rest of the year. And we are working to see how, pending the modernization program I'm talking about, that demand can be met as soon as possible. Mr. Speaker, finally, on that issue, I want to assure the House again that perhaps when I come back, the members will have positive feedback on this service because we believe the registration of the births of our children and the deaths of our departed persons should not be aggravated further by absence of documents. The member for Gilgil has also asked whether the detention of young mothers in hospitals, especially under the Linda Mama program, is linked to the shortage of these booklets. The government's position is that this is not the case for two reasons, Honorable Speaker. Reason number one is that birth registration is free of charge, so it cannot be the purpose that makes a mother to be detained in hospital beyond the time she's supposed to be released. Secondly, why we believe this is not the cause is because the registration of births is allowed to take place within a period of 6 months after birth. So long as it's done within 6 months, it's lawful. So it cannot be the basis of saying, we hold a mother in hospital who has given birth because of lack of these booklets. That notwithstanding, when I got this parliamentary question, I have directed the civil registrar to provide us with a solution. Even as we wait for this equipment, we need to find a solution so that should the House require me to provide an update in the next few months, because the equipment program may take around 6 months because of the nature, the financing, and the contractual arrangements, we will have an answer. Finally, Honorable Speaker, is that we have shortage of personnel. That's another challenge we are having in that department. We have only about 286 civil registrars for the whole country, against the establishment of approximately 1,400, which has been approved by the Public Service Commission. We are trying to see how, even if we don't fill the entire complement, the Public Service Commission can help us perhaps hire a few more in the financial year that starts June 2023.
Majority Leader, Wangari, you want to have your first shot? Let Majority Leader go first. I'll give you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, may commend the CS for being the first CS to appear in this session. But Honorable Speaker, you will, and the House will appreciate that part of the reasons why we wanted CSs to appear before the House is for them to answer to questions that are of concern to the people, but also to use this opportunity to expound on government policy, on what government is doing. Honorable Speaker, it has been my belief in the past, and maybe something the CS will work to change that belief in me, that the personification of bureaucracy in government and the personification of liturgy in government operations resides in the Ministry of Interior. And if you listened to the answers pertaining to the issues to do with bandits, and even now when I listen to the CS answer the question on slow printing of forms, I hear the CS telling us forms are slowly being printed by the government printer because of challenges of modernization in the government printer's office, challenges of employment, there are low staff levels in the department. When I also listen to the President, who has hired the CS, the President is talking about digitization. So I really want to know from the CS, where do you sit as a Cabinet Secretary in terms of implementing that policy on the digitization of government services? Because you cannot be talking about low levels of staff while we are also complaining of a huge wage bill in the public service, when the President is telling us about digitization and the CS is telling us that he's modernizing printing. Shouldn't we then be getting this B1 in a digital format? I can see the PS Citizen Services is seated there. The PS Citizen Services have engaged with him on a unique identifier system that seeks to capture data of newborns digitally, electronically. But now the CS is telling us about modernizing the government printer, hiring another person at the government printer who will be more efficient. leasing equipment instead of buying new equipment. CS, you must tell us, where do you sit? Are you aligned to the president's agenda to digitize, or are you not? It is that simple. Cabinet Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was hoping that this would be a softer question because it has no guns, but I can see the guns are already coming out. But I want to just also thank the CS, congratulate him for being the first one in this very unique arrangement where we get answers firsthand instead of what we used to go about last parliament, 11th parliament, chairs who had no substantial answers. I have listened to the CS very carefully, and Mr. Speaker, this small matter of birth registration may look small, but the inconveniences it gets to people and to the public at large are huge. You want to take your child to grade 1 to register for NEMIS, you need a birth certificate. You want to get a passport, you will need a birth certificate. So, Mr. Speaker, I am actually perturbed to hear the CS say that he has written letters to the government printer, who is also anchored under the same ministry. I do not have the advantage of their nexus, so I will not speak to the letters. But my question is, follow-up question is, what are the timelines that we are looking at? And the reason I ask that, Mr. Speaker, is because shortages with birth registration, with death registration, shortages with IDs, printing materials are treated as normal. So my first question is, how does the civil registration services sit in the ministry in terms of budget allocation, in terms of autonomy, in terms of being able to run these services, Mr. Speaker? Number two,
supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, this is my question, and you did very badly with that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll try to be very quick. The other one is the fact that the annexure between the Linda Mama parents, Mr. Speaker, and Linda Mama women. I am a practicing mother. I have given birth in the not so long past, Mr. Speaker. And I can tell you, whether you give birth in a public...
Not being a mother is a practice?
Yeah, it's practicing. It's still ongoing. It's still ongoing, Mr. Speaker. But I'm just confirming, because I have gone through it, I know whether you give birth in the public hospitals or the private hospitals, you must be issued with that short pink paper that is called a notification, Mr. Speaker. That notification, you can use it in 6 months. But hospitals, and scrupulous hospitals, Mr. Speaker, are detaining mothers so that they are there for longer, so that the bills accumulate to pay. But that pink paper, even for home deliveries, Mr. Speaker, is gotten from the B1 paper that I'm asking about. So that is the annexure with the Linda Mama. And finally, Mr. Speaker, last parliament, I brought a motion here. It was overwhelmingly approved because many members, including Muhaya MP, the Northern Kenya, Mr. Speaker, do not have civil registration centers. So we requested, and this House passed, that we establish in every sub-county a civil registration center. So I'll be very keen to know what is the progress on that motion, even as we implement, Mr. Speaker, or does it have to wait longer? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, my question to the CS, who is a fellow left-handed, so I'm sure he'll think quick on his feet, is in relation to single mothers. The issue that most single mothers experience when they are transitioning from birth notification to birth certificate is that they're not able to get birth certificates for their children because in most instances they don't have IDs of their father. So my question to the CS is, what support can you give to the single mothers to ensure that they get birth certificates for their children, because they need this to be able to process medical insurance for their children? Thank you.
Dr. Nyikal, if you can be as brief as that, it will be very helpful. I take 4 and close the chapter to the next question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I also appreciate the Minister for being the first to answer questions here. Mr. Minister, the question was the Cabinet to explain why mothers in public hospitals, then especially Mama Linda, you therefore, okay, Linda Mama. Okay. why mothers in public hospitals,
Dr.
especially those
out a personal secret.
Yes. Why those on Linda Mama program are delayed? The implication of the question, Mr. Speaker, is that actually in private hospitals, this is not a problem. And those mothers who are also paying directly is not a problem. This is not in line with the minister's answer, which is that there is a shortage of forms at the printing level. If the problem was at printing level, then obviously this should affect all mothers, whether private, whether Linda Mama. So that's what is the issue there. And also, the number of children that are born annually is a factor that is publicly known. It's about between 1.5, around 1.5 million. And the minister is saying he needs information on this number. So if that's not satisfactory, can we have clarification on those 2 points, Mr. Speaker?
Thank you. Dr. Bukose. If you ask just one question,
Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I want to thank the Cabinet Secretary and congratulate him for being the first. Mr. Speaker, CS, my question is about the Huduma cards, Huduma number. What happened to them? Because at one time, a lot of colossal sums of money were used to procure the Huduma number. Is it still there? What happened to it? Thank you.
Mary Emase.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for finally noticing us around this corner. Mr. Speaker, I want to emphasize on the issue of decentralizing issuance of birth certificates. Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious issue. My mothers go to another sub-county to look for birth certificates. And sometimes they are told those forms are not there. They have to travel so many kilometers severally. So I just want to emphasize that there is need to have a center in every sub-county. And Mr. Speaker, speaking of security, because I do not have time to ask, I just want to add one. That sometimes we even use our assistant chiefs and chiefs actually to collect those birth certificates, take them to the center. And I want to just request the CS kindly. Across the country, we have administrative units where the chiefs or assistant chiefs have passed on or have retired. They have not been replaced. A number of administrative units, like even divisions like in Teso South, were created. They have not yet been operationalized. Kindly, can you do something about it? Because they play a critical role in security. They help us with the birth certificates. They help us in even acquiring IDs. If there is no assistant chief or a chief to do the vetting, then our people are not getting these very necessary services on time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity.
You, now you have resorted to raising your hands like in a classroom. The member, I can't see that far. The honorable member from, is it Mandera? The one next in front of Emase. Sorry, honorable member, I can't see you clearly because of the lighting. Honorable Sane. 1 minute, Honorable Sane. I couldn't see you clearly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Your hand was up for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I can use my colleague's mic. I come from a county which is over 56,000 square kilometers. I do appreciate the work of the PS. For the first time since independence, he has posted at least death and birth officers last week. But the rest of the sub-counties do not have officers. Forget about forms. So in as much as I appreciate Honorable Wangari's question, when is the Cabinet Secretary posting all the officers in all the sub-counties of Wajir, which is twice the size of Rwanda as a country? Thank you.
CNN, Guna. One question.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, some members here are very lucky. I am talking of the new constituencies which were created in 2013. In my constituency, Mwingi West, there is no single registration center on this. What is the ministry doing to ensure that these constituencies, at least, members don't have to go to other constituencies to access the same service? Thank you.
Minister, you may answer those. And just before you do that, allow me, in case we have held these students for too long, we acknowledge the presence of students from Mamangina Senior School in Kikuyu, Kiambu. They are in the public gallery, and in the Speaker's gallery we have St. Albert the Great, Siakago Boys High School, Mbere North in Embu. You are welcome to the House of Parliament. Minister Hall, I give a member for Lamu East, and who is out of order, Madam Chelule, to run across the floor with your hand raised.
Asante Bwana Spika kunipatia nafasi, nami ni muulize waziri ana mipango gani kwa wakazi wanaoishi mbali na ambapo hawana maofisa wala hawana hizo ofisi. Mtu kama wa Kiunga inamgharimu shilingi 4,000 kutoka Ishakani mpaka Kiunga shilingi 300, Kiunga Tumkokoni ndio upande boat ni shilingi 700. Boti ya Mirao kipanda from Mkokoni kufika Mokoe ambao kuna ofisi ni shilingi 3,000. Njia moja ni 4,000 kurudi, 4,000, 8,000 kwenda kutafuta birth certificate. Sehemu kama hizo una mipango gani ambao hazina hizo ofisi? Paka tuje maeneo bunge mengine ndo tutafute hizo huduma. Asante Bwana Speaker.
Let's have the answers now. Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, one of the priorities for us as a ministry is institutional reforms within the security sector, immigration, citizen services, prisons, correctional services. As I began by saying earlier this afternoon, Honorable Speaker, we admit that the rate at which and the efficiency at which government services are being rendered is not satisfactory. And therefore, we have considered that institutional reform, organizational culture change is a priority for all the departments within our ministry. I therefore want to accept the critical sentiments that have been raised about our performance, and we are working very hard to make sure that we do better. And going forward, this administration will be more than happy to report progress made on each and every sector. We have instituted baseline service for each and every service that we are offering, so that every 3-6 months we can be able to track progress. Having said so, Honorable Speaker, the Leader of Majority did ask whether we are remaining with the printing of documents or we are going digital. Honorable Speaker, the policy of government is to digitize all the services that it offers. I can report, as we speak, 5,771 services are partially digitized, out of which 3,293 services across government have been digitized end-to-end, and the other 2,498 are not partial, they are not end-to-end. The total is 5,771. 2,498 partially, 3,293 completely. So that is the policy. Digitization, Honorable Speaker, will come with its challenges, but it's a decision this government has taken to proceed that way. However, Honorable Speaker, that does not take the words that I spoke earlier, that still, as we wait towards complete digitization, we must continue producing and giving services, because our mothers are still giving birth as we speak, as we wait for this process to be consummated completely. And therefore, we are intended to make sure we satisfy the demand. I want to assure members we'll make progress. The Honourable Member for Gilgil asked for timelines. On 27th of March this year, which is 3 weeks ago, we initiated a rapid response initiative at the CRS, and therefore we're expecting 90 days that issue of shortage to be addressed, even as we wait for digitization, as well as the issue of equipment modernization. Honorable Speaker, a question has been raised on remote and far-flung areas, the example given by the member for Lamu East. I'll be visiting Lamu East next week for 2 days, and I think the example the member has given is an urgent priority, and I think we should be able to open a registration center in Kiunga as a matter of priority, because the need, as described here, is quite unique comparing to other parts of the country. I want to commit to the member and to the House that we're going to open a registration center there. Honorable Speaker, also, even as we continue with the digitization, we will still need registration centers. At the moment, out of the 369 sub-counties, in implementation of the motion passed by this House earlier on, we have civil registration centers in 137 sub-counties, meaning we are less than half. But we are continuing to open new ones on a needs basis. My PS for Citizen Services, I sent him to open one in Kajiado 1 month ago, and I think he's opening another one in Kubu, I think in a month's time. And this will be resolved as we continue to make sure that every sub-county has a civil registry. Honorable Speaker, also, the issue raised by the member from Mwingi West, I think Mwingi West is also an area which requires special measures, and I think we'll put it in our priority. Subject to resources, we will ensure that an area like Mwingi gets that center also opened. I want to commit to the House that at least the ones that have been identified on the floor of this House by members, in the next 2 months, there will be a civil registration center, including the one raised about Wajir. Honorable Speaker, on this question and earlier on, a question was raised about administrative units. About 80 sub-counties were gazetted just before last election, and they are not operational. We do not have the resources to operationalize all those sub-counties. So what we have decided is to stagger the operationalization of all the gazetted sub-counties in a 3-year period, starting June this year. And the criteria we will use is the nature of hardship and inconveniences to service delivery, as well as regional balance, so that the first criteria of the 20 to 25 sub-counties to be operationalized this financial year starting June will take care of regions, but also hardship, size, population, and all the other factors. We'll come up with a criteria which will be fair and which can be shared to members if they want to know what criteria we will use to identify those that will come first, and then second, and then the third financial year. Honorable Speaker, I can also report to the House that areas where assistant chiefs and chiefs have not been recruited, my PS for internal security has already approved the recruitment process, and therefore we expect all those positions to be filled in the next 90 days across the country. Honorable Speaker, then I think, again, a question was asked between technology and what we are doing in the old fashion. Going forward, before Cabinet is a policy brief, is a Cabinet brief, which is under consideration on the UPI, the Universal Personal Identifier. And I think in the next 1 or 2 weeks it will be disposed of so that we migrate, we converge two things. One, that every child in Kenya gets a universal personal identifier at birth, which becomes their number in school, their whatever number they require. And when they are 18, that number is the ID number. Then at the same time and in parallel, another universal personal identifier for adults who are getting IDs. So you have a universal personal identifier at birth and for the existing, because that one, by the time the first adult will use the UPI, it will be 18 years from when we commence. But in the meantime, we are migrating, we are considering, subject to approval by Cabinet, migrating the current ID we have into a fourth generation ID, which is the UPI for adults, which of course will take away the question of Huduma number, which was not solving the kind of problems that we intend to solve. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister, about single mothers who cannot produce the fathers of the children's IDs.
Honorable Speaker, it is no longer a requirement of the law for a registration of a child to include both parents. It is not a requirement. It is now possible to register one parent if you are a one-parent child. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Honourable members, will move to question 105 of 2023. Member for Mandera South.
I'm here. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question 105 of 2023. Could the Cabinet Secretary, 1, state the measures being taken to establish civil registration centers in every sub-county in the country so as to ease access to civil registration services? 2, state the measures the ministry is putting in place to immediately set up a civil registration at Elwak and Kutulo sub-counties in Mandera South to serve the huge population in the region, considering that the closest civil registration center to Mandera South constituency is located nearly 220 kilometers away from Mandera town and also serves Mandera North, Mandera West, Banisa, and Lafe constituencies. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister, this is nearly similar to the question of Mother Wangari, so we shouldn't spend too much time on this. Answer the question, and I'll allow one bite by the member who asked and one more member. Go ahead, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, just as I have told the House on the issue of operationalization of the administrative units that are gazetted and not operational, we are finalizing a criteria which will help us implement the recommendations of this House in the motion which was cited by the Honorable Member for Gilgil to make sure that every sub-county has a civil registry. So what we've done is that we have taken the remainder of all, we have taken the list of all the sub-counties that do not have a civil registry, and we want to implement, because there are quite many, unlike the sub-counties, we want to implement that motion in the next 5 years, but based on a criteria. That criteria, just as in the first case with sub-counties, will be as follows. First of all, those that will get centers, because right now, Mr. Speaker, if I can explain this for half a minute, at the moment, we are opening these centers on the request of individual members of parliament. Like I cited the Kajiado North, it was a request by the MP. I cited Imenti South. The member for Imenti South, who can confirm, is the one who wrote and requested for a center. And we felt that perhaps we should have an objective criteria so that, again, we make sure that that implementation of the recommendation of this House is done fairly, equitably, and making sure that every part of the country is covered. So the criteria will involve, first of all, regional diversity, so that we pick in the first year, every region of our country will be represented in those that will be open this year, but also special and unique circumstances like topography, hardship, population, and so forth. Going forward, to avoid, complaints, public complaints, at a future date, now that this tradition of ministers appearing before the House has begun, I'll be more than happy later on, when the opportunity happens, to provide an update to the House where we are, the criteria we are using. By that time, we'll have adopted it, and then the rollout to ensure that no part of the country is favored and no part of the country will be left out. In fact, on the Wajir issue, generally northern Kenya, upper eastern, upper coast, pastoral areas generally, I think special attention will be given to those areas because I have been there and I know it is quite challenging when one has to travel, as was the case raised by the member for Lamu East. You use 10,000 shillings to go and look for a birth certificate. Another Kenyan is using matatu and paying 50 bob to and fro. But all these factors will be taken into consideration because we want an equitable country and a country where public policy is informed by objective criteria. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I thank the Minister for the answer. Probably most of the answers that I would have wanted had been preempted in the previous question.
I feel the same.
Yeah. So, but I will say, first of all, we have dwelled so much on birth certificates, but a functioning civil registration center and service actually has three very important events. That is registration of births, registration of marriages, and also registration of deaths. And even if we go digital, Mr. Speaker, sir, even if we go digital, you know, registration alone is not enough because the Civil Registration Service has to provide the certificate as a proof of that registration. And that is why we are asking for physical facility and officers who would be in those centers. To put what I'm particularly in my constituency, when I mentioned Elwak and I mentioned Kutulo, those are two sub-counties in one constituency, vastly, spread apart. Mandera town, where the civil registration center is, the only civil registration center we have in Mandera County, is 220 kilometers from Elwak. And I'm sure the cabinet secretary knows the problems that are there traveling between Elwak and Mandera, especially with the menace from those bad guys from across the border. That road has been a very risky road, especially when you are traveling between Elwak and Mandera, and also between Kutulo and Elwak. So you travel 220 kilometers, and the only bus...
Honourable Member, you are now making a speech.
Okay, the only bus that you use for transport between two is the bus that comes from Nairobi. That's what you wait for, so that you can hike it to Mandera. So my plea to the cabinet secretary is that a sub-county like Elwak and Kutulo, which are some of the oldest in that region, surely require civil registration centers very urgently because of the importance of those certificates that the Honorable Mother Wangari had mentioned earlier. The NEMIS. If you want to travel with your child from Mandera now, you cannot take that child on the flight if they don't have a birth certificate. and this all is a challenge, and we require those documents in Mandera. I think the answers that have been given, the usual answers that we hear when government gives answers to, lack of facilities, lack of officers, lack of funding. These are answers which...
Honorable Harrow, you are debating.
Okay, sir.
I gave you an opportunity to ask a supplementary if you feel your question was not sufficiently answered.
So what the Honorable Cabinet Secretary mentioned that some of the initiatives come from the MPs. And I have the benefit of having a copy of his written answer. And he had mentioned of partnership between the Member of Parliament and the national government offices on the ground. I would want to know what would that partnership look like? How does it manifest itself? Because we would really want to initiate those initiatives and see what that partnership can do to help our people on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Rindikiri, one question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the PS for the confidence he has answered our questions, but I have a problem, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the issuance of passports. There are some questions that I think that form need to be reviewed, particularly on the fathers, mothers, and even the children, some of who could be deceased. I don't see the relevance for that. Two, there is so many migrants who have come to this country purporting to be experts in various fields. They have been given permit to work in Kenya. Even some of them have no technical expertise, taking jobs for Kenyans who are even very qualified. What is this that the ministry is doing to ensure that we don't have hawkers coming here purporting to be expert in various fields? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Julius Sunguli. 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to ask the Minister to confirm whether the answer he gave about birth certificates also applies to forms for registration of persons. Because as far as Kilgoris is concerned, there has been no registration, fresh registrations of persons for nearly 6 months now, and the reason being that there are no forms. What is the Minister going to do to ensure that those forms are available? And attached to that, Mr. Speaker, if the Minister could confirm,
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. Mine is just very brief, and this one goes direct to the CS. I had a serious meeting with the CS for the last, around 60 days, and they promised me that this is Columbia constituency, Bwana CS. You promised me I will get a registrar in my constituency because I already have the office. So I just want to make a follow-up on the same. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Last on this, Johanna Ngeno.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also wish to congratulate the CS for the questions and answers he has made. Mr. Speaker, mine is just almost on the same issue of registration centers. Mr. Speaker, I would wish the CS to consider whether in those areas where there are no registration centers, to make mobile registration so that those people who cannot, or by the time the government puts money to build offices and send officers there, people should be able to access those particular registration centers. Speaker, and secondly...
One at a time.
Speaker, secondly, on the question of boundaries, areas that are bordering international countries where we have serious vetting and actually denying people to get their IDs. Can they also remove Ũgitĩri from that list of constituencies which are bordering either Tanzania or other countries? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Can we stop here on this question, members? Yes. Minister, answer those supplementaries.
Sorry, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on the last issue, which has been raised by a member for Ũgitĩri and another member earlier on, the government takes the view and has decided that vetting is a discriminative process which exposes citizens from certain parts of the country to unduly difficult procedures. Of course, the reason why this policy has been there is for good reasons. It's for our national security. Where you have large threats, then you need to be a bit careful so that you minimize security threats through the registration of our citizens. However, we have come up with a modality of ensuring that all critical documents from passports, IDs, birth certificates, all critical documents must be supplied within 21 days, irrespective of where the applicants come.
Nyitageni ogeni gwaku mucii wigurire mucere wa kopia, shukari wa kopia, njahi cia kopia, kamanda ga kopia kana ndengu cia kopia na thogora mubashirire. Kopia, maisha rahisi. Gaida hoya niyo
kwigwatira rwimbo ruru rwa gitira thimu-ini yaku hihinya *860*412# na Ngai witu akugitire. Ririkana inoro ni kuo mucii wa aini othe.
Baby, side kwa wapi?
Sitima imepanda, usuru imepanda, maji imepanda, mafuta imepanda, na sasa ndio stress na hasira imepanda.
When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Get a quick logbook or to deed loan approved within 6 hours. And not just that, asset finance, import finance, insurance, salary check of loans, civil servant loans. Mwananchi Credit has you covered.
Mwananchi Credit, investor in people.
Aina gimeno no ikange muno wena kane kanini yogerera gima man. Hey, tabai mukire haha heno horo mwega
niguo gukuhotithia kugura buroti guku Top Care ni twagwithia thogora wa booking hari buroti citu ciothe nginya 50.
Uhoro ucio no wa mani tuthie inde mutwara kuri andu aya mari. Oh yes, guku Top Care tuga booking ni 50 na mu mathogora ri ni gutinangia tutigirire we ni we gwatira buroti.
Twina mugunda Juja wa 595 na Joska ni 395,000 only.
Tosherara roiro kana utohorera thimu namba ni 0708 000
Top Care ni mucii waku mwehokeku wa uigithia.
Horo wa tumumu wa marangi ni mundu utangihota gutofautisha rangi muna na rangi muno.
Ini ndiranyita no ngoro ndiranyita tondu ngoro yakwa ihenagia muno.
Tuthi na bena thabari itu no make sure no amuhurira thimu.
This is my mother we are talking about.
Tuko pamoja maisha ni tuinuane.
maishani tuinuane.
Nishesheni ya Inoro TV.
While other cleaners flow away, Harpic 10X's viscous formula in only one round of application gives you sparkling, clean toilet.
Harpic, 10 times better cleaning than other cleaning products.
And great savings too.
Kamba mama Tabalana Kusukizo bilo belango ya bando Nikwela yanga ina sheri Sukalilita maskia Wanasema ni utamu wa mziki Ebaki Suka sekatinga mae Kamba mama Balana Kusukizo bilo belango ya bando Nikwela yanga ina sheri Sukalilita iwa Onga inda ya Na yebi kombo ya bandante Oyanga inda ya Libala yango bandante kidogo sikia Motema muangai moko beta keke mama Nazadi kono zurue Na mombali nangai Akome kate ako kate Lokia sango wa mama Akome kate ako kate Bakate arogange Onga indaya Na yabi kombo ya bandate Oyanga indaya Libala yango bandante Skio Ateke Yatoka shini Moratawa kwa wehani ore Dikere liango yoro Tadone geno goe kyugo Goro akue horera Omoda nyajoka ngere noshine Ako koya bere Kabere ni ako na mehango dhambi ya ora nyata nigeka mengo enyume jokangera ngoko ya bara na de nando genyuma jokangera ngoko ya bara na de nando genyuma kareke
Yes, nipatanya wa Wendo Wednesday go kuni kwa Inoro TV ni getuo the senior sergeant DJ Smiles gikunyiti yogeni onakora ntwagi ukato sereiru oro hanini na gerena jeshino we jereire goko gaseni karibu sana ukigeni muroreri.
Asante.
Yes, nyeri ko hanate.
Nyeri ni kwega. No ni jika Nairobi.
Na mane Nairobi.
Nyeri ni kwega.
Nyeri ni kwega. Doyo na ide wa nyeri dio kane wewe.
Asha.
Doe.
Ai, kogo no koro e brother yakwa.
Karuka ndenda igwa gaikania kari tugeta ko su. Ati ne wajiga kabrozo nini uguo. Mapema ndio best.
No matigakigie mwihoko ningi muno. You never know.
You never know. Asante sana niguo tucerera muthenya wa umuthe na ni njui ni ugikiharirie murorori haria hothe ugikururi twaririe na unjaririe kwitukira page yako ya DJ Smiles o hamwe na ya Inoro TV o hamwe kwitukira njira ya SMS number 22488 niguo kurongirora ndumiriri ici unjire gaceni ungiendaga kwinire rwimbo ruriko na ni kairitu kanini ndirigite kuona kairitu kanini o tawe.
Is God, ne guy.
Ari na microphone.
Oh, ne guy.
Ne guy. No mugambo ni munene.
Nitukuga no guy.
No guy. Maundu mothe ni ma guy.
Yeah.
Asante sana gwe kinyia guku muthenya wa umuthe na ginyagia gwe gwitana ugagitikira guka guku muthenya wa umuthe. Ndikiugana reke ndoreka ndina ndamiriri cigana na haho gwigitwo guthomera ndona mundu tagwo MC mwa mutingo kanjira gwithie muno kanjira metu ndimena Nemoi. Wa mutingo makadena me mitabini na mheshimiwa wa Hinya, mheshimiwa Weru na Mr. D na mheshimiwa Weru orege mudogo wetu Ken Mwagi mudogo wetu Koia kadira goidi best yangu wako na energy yako sawa.
Asante.
Mudogo wetu Karaja just thank you sana mudogo wetu P Kenyu kadira ukire mitambo-ini. Thank you sana. Ken Mwangi ona ndona ndamiriri yaku. Thank you muno mundu witwo muria wa Shushu. Ambia hako kadem tutafanya kolabo. Ni wega kolabo?
Nitogushifaga.
Nitogushifaga. Ndana microphone tukiari nigetha.
Oh, okay. Nitogushifaga with time.
Nitogushifaga with time.
Yeah.
Mundu witwo Fidi akajira uko top sana. Mundu witwo Su akajira kwethia muno. Thank you muno. Liz Kababa era gacedi athakirerwo agatutura akajira watching from Voi. Thank you sana. Mundu witwo Runyenjes munene morasta. Thank you muno. Rero tunagiriria rwimbo rumwe nigetha tuthie ikinya riu rungi twambe tuhombokie ro hanini. Tuhore rumwe.
Sawa. Yes.
Pick up key extra offers. Choose from a Kibunda of products. Get Kibigi discounts. Kwa hivyo, you can beba more of your favorite fresh foods and household products. Naivas saves you money.
I started building rockets in the year 2009. I also built planes and sold to my friends. And I also built models of the iconic rockets that we know. For instance, the Saturn V. So currently, I've taken it a bit more serious. You can build it from balsa wood or cypress. You can build it from aluminum tubes or steel tubes. I aim to pass the knowledge I've accumulated in building rockets to other people.
To watch this story and more, download the Citizen Digital app. Scroll left on the menu bar to the exclusive videos portal. Once here, scroll the videos and find this and many more exciting stories lined up for you. Click on the video to play and enjoy.
Kenya's #1 app, Citizen Digital.
My baby is famous for her happy dancing moves because she's always happy. What's the reason for this happiness? Molfix dryness. It's what all mothers dream of. Molfix can absorb and keep the liquid locked inside up to 30 times its weight. It stays dry, does not leak, and our babies do not get rashes. Come on, mothers. Try Molfix baby diapers and be part of our happiness movement.
Kenyans are winning big on SharpBakey.com. Bet on these games now and enjoy highly boosted odds. Not for persons under the age of 18. Play responsibly. SharpBakey.com is authorized and regulated by the BCLB. License number 416. SharpBakey.com.
Yes, muthenya wa Wendo Wednesday tukiri na ageni aingĩ mũno mũthenya wa ũmũthĩ na ngĩrĩ na mũgeni ũngĩ wa kerĩ na nĩ njũĩ onacio makiuma ho nĩ magũkorwo magĩgĩcokereria. Karibu sana mũgeni, gĩthie mwĩroreri ũmwĩre wĩtagwo atĩa na umĩte kũ?
Mwĩroreri nĩ ndakũgeithia o rĩngĩ, njĩtagwo BTM kuma kũrĩa mwena wa Kereni na ndĩ gũkũ kwa Inoro TV Mwĩgangaro.
Atĩ umĩte
mwena wa Karen.
Karen.
Yes.
Karen. Oh, Karen na gĩkũyũ nĩyo weta Kereni.
Nĩtagwo Karen.
Oh, Karen. Yes. Karen nĩ kũndũ kwega mũno, nĩ tũcerangaga na hau ũguo na nĩ wagĩtũinĩra rwĩmbo rwega mũno rwĩtagwo kau kararĩ o gatu.
Nĩguo.
Yes. Nĩkĩ gĩtũmi gĩaku we gũtunga rwĩmbo rũu ũguo?
Reke njuge nĩ maũndũ, nĩ challenge ndagereire na kũhĩtũkĩra challenge ĩyo ngĩkĩhoka Ngai na kũhĩtũkĩra kwĩhoka Ngai na kũhoya mũno, kũiga maũndũ mothe mbere ya Ngai na gũturia maru, kau karĩ gatu, ngiuga nĩ gatu na gagĩũka gakĩhĩtũka ũguo.
Ũguo tiga nĩ gatu kau ndũngĩainire?
Nĩ ingĩainire tondũ reke njuge message nĩ Mwathani ũtũheaga. Yes.
Na ũguo ũrageria kuga atĩ Ngai akũgereirie challenges inĩ icio nĩgetha ũkĩ ũtuĩke mũini?
Reke njuge ministry ya wĩini ĩkoragwo thĩinĩ wa mũndũ na nĩ Ngai ũrekagĩrĩria wĩini thĩinĩ wa mũndũ kana mũndũ agaciarwo na kĩheo.
Yes, na hihi industry-inĩ ĩno ya wĩini nginyagia hau ũrĩ ĩna challenges kana?
Okay, challenges tiagaga nĩ tondũ nĩ ũcemanagia na magerio, no ũngĩkorwo wĩhokete Ngai no nginya ũtorie magerio macio.
No nginya matorie. Ta rĩu nĩ challenges iria nene mũno wanagerera thĩinĩ wa ũini nĩ ĩrĩkũ?
Reke njuge ndanaruta rwĩmbo na ndanarĩha studio nyĩmbo. Na rĩrĩa ndathire kũrekondi rwĩmbo ngĩkora producer nĩ athamire na thiĩ na mbeca ciakwa natuĩka mteja.
Natuĩka mteja. Ndũngĩatungĩire rĩu ta producer ũcio karwĩmbo?
Ndũngĩhota gũtungĩra mũndũ tondũ ĩyo nĩ message Ngai aheaga mũndũ kũhĩtũkĩra mahoya, kũhĩtũkĩra kũhoya, kũhĩtũkĩra gũthoma Bible, ona kũhĩtũkĩra kũfast.
Rĩu ndĩrauga rĩu ta challenge ĩyo rĩ, nĩ korwo nĩ indo ingĩathire nyine tondũ rĩu tũtuge rĩu ndĩ mũini, ingĩathire nyine producer ũcio ndĩmwĩre Ngai nĩ onaga ũrĩa wothe weka kĩndũ ta kĩu ũguo?
Tũtinagĩra andũ, tũinagĩra Ngai kũringana na message ĩrĩa ekagĩra thĩinĩ witũ. Nĩguo.
Na Ngai ekagĩra mũndũ atĩa message kana we wekĩrirwo atĩa?
Niĩ message ti gwĩkĩrwo ndekĩrio, nĩ gũciarwo ndaciarirwo na kĩheo kĩu
gĩa kũina.
Gĩa kũina.
No nĩ wowe watũra Ngai nĩ agwĩkĩrĩre message?
Ũgĩciarwo rĩ nĩ ũciaragwo na message thĩinĩ waku.
Wanjirie kũina rĩ?
Ndambirie kũina ndĩ kairĩtu kanini nĩ tondũ ndainithagia Sunday school kũrĩa PCA ya Mũrang'a, kũu nĩkuo nyumĩte, kũu nĩkuo mũciĩ.
Mũrang'a kũ?
Mũrang'a mwena wa Maragwa.
Mwena wa Maragwa. No rwĩmbo rwaku rwa mbere kũruta rwarĩ rĩ?
Reke njuge ndandĩkire rwĩmbo ndĩ class 8 no kũruta nĩ rwatĩkire gatĩna tondũ ndokire kũruta after mĩaka 5 ũguo.
Mĩaka 5 after class ũguo nĩ warĩkĩtie nginya form 4?
Yes.
Na ũgĩthiĩ kũruta rwĩmbo rĩ, nĩ njiguaga ndanacemania na andũ aingĩ magoka makanjĩra atĩ ndiarĩ na mbia, ndiarĩ na mũndũ wa kũnyita guoko. We nĩ wagereire kĩndũ ta kĩu ũguo?
Ũrĩa wanyonereirie gacĩra kana ũrĩa wanyitire guoko nĩ one of my friend wĩho wĩinaga akĩnyonia studio, na studio nĩyo ndekĩirwo mũhathara.
Ndwambũrĩmire your friend?
Ndiamũmbũrĩmire tondũ ndoĩ ndamenyaga onake kana no gũthiĩ ũguo, tondũ onake nĩ akĩrutĩire nyĩmbo kuo na cigĩkĩnyua maĩ ũrĩa cianyuire.
Ona ciĩkĩra cianyuire?
Cigĩthiaga
ũguo producer arĩ mũkora?
No Ngai ũĩ rĩu tũngĩkiuga atĩ.
Aya, nginyagia hau wĩna nyĩmbo cigana ũguo?
Ndĩna nyĩmbo 12.
12 in a span of how many years?
7 years.
Mĩaka 7 wĩna nyĩmbo 12 ũguo, nĩ tuge ta mwaka nĩ ũkoretwo ũkĩruta rwĩmbo rũmwe kana 2 ũguo?
Gũkaga message ũrĩa yoka, ona ngĩũka no nyine ta rĩu.
Na yũkaga atĩ hau nĩho itarĩ ndĩranyita ũrĩa message yaku, kũrĩ mokaga makanjĩra ndathire ngĩthoma Bible, ndarĩ toro ngĩigua rwĩmbo?
Niĩ message ciakwa ciũkaga mostly ndĩ kĩrĩma-inĩ ngĩhoya. Ngaigua ngĩinĩrwo kana ngaheo.
Kĩrĩma-inĩ?
Kũmatha Ngai.
Kĩrĩkũ?
Nĩthiaga Kĩangong'u na nĩthiaga kũrĩa Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate nĩkũ?
Naikuru.
Ĩyo nĩ Hell's Gate.
Sio hell. No.
Hell's Gate. Hell's Gate.
DJ nĩ ũratũhĩngĩca.
Aca niĩ njũĩ Hell's Gate. Gwĩ kũndũ na gũkũ ndiũĩ kana nĩ Naivasha na hau All Carrier.
Ĩyo ndimĩũĩ.
Gwĩ kũndũ gwĩtagwo Hell's Gate. Na anga nĩ gũkoragwo na nyamũ. Heaven's Gate ĩkoragwo kũ?
Ĩkoragwo Naikuru.
Naikuru ha?
Wakinya Naikuru town ukoya ngari kana motorbike ugatwarwo.
Asante sana na rĩu rũgĩ hena rwĩmbo rũngĩ. Ũinĩte rũu tũrenda gũthaka. Rwĩtagwo atĩa?
Nĩnyinĩte rwĩmbo rugaga aciari merute kũrĩha mathirĩ na nĩnyinĩte rũngĩ rugaga penina nĩ aingĩ.
Aciari aku kama mena thirĩ?
Matirĩ na thirĩ.
Na nĩ kũrĩha thirĩ ũrĩkũ?
Ĩyo nĩ message ya aciari aitũ.
Atĩa nĩ thirĩ ũrĩkũ mararĩha?
Wakate matinie marĩhe thirĩ kutoa mahali twara indo kũrĩa makĩheirwo mũndũ kana kũrĩa marutire mũtumia.
Wewe mũracĩri.
No nginya.
Wĩna mabiũ. Na wĩ mũhonoku?
Ndĩmwĩtigĩri Ngai.
No ndũrĩ mũhonoku nĩ wĩtigĩrĩte Ngai?
Ndĩ mũhonoku. Ndĩ mũira wa Ngai nĩekaga.
Okay, kĩana ciũria icio cia ta ngire mathĩna maingĩ mũno. Nĩ njũĩ hihi mũndũ ũgĩtũhe handles ciaku mũndũ angĩgwetha agwetha ũ?
Njĩtagwo BTM.
BTM.
Njĩtagwo BTM. Instagram, Twitter nĩ BTM, YouTube no BTM na nĩnjĩkaga organizing ya my event. Ngetwo o BTM event organizer. Mũndũ angĩenda kũnyona no anyone kũrĩa Ũgatarũ Ngai nĩnyonekaga kũu.
Atĩkũ?
Ũgatarũ Ngai.
Nĩ ũrĩ wabici kũu?
Ndĩ na ofici kuo.
Okay. Thank you mũno. Hihi kaũndũ ka mũico ũngĩkĩenda gũtwĩra mũthenya wa ũmũthĩ kana ũkĩgeithanie nĩgetha tũgĩthiĩ ikinya rĩu rĩngĩ?
Mwĩroreri nĩndakũgeithia o rĩngĩ ndaiga njĩtagwo BTM na ndĩ mũhonoku. DJ nĩanjũria kĩũria oria kana ndĩ mũhonoku. Ngwĩciria oria ũguo tondũ nĩnjĩkĩrĩte mũbuto DJ.
Aca mũgũthũ tiguga atĩ ndũrĩ mũhonoku.
Ndĩ mwĩtigĩri Ngai na nĩnyendete Ngai nĩ tondũ Ngai aroraga ngoro na nĩwe ũthuthuragia ngoro gĩtina. Nĩ kaba ũmenye ũrĩa wĩtanĩtio na Ngai waku. Mũtuanĩri cira arĩ ho na reke ngaithie my mom nĩndĩramenya nĩ maranjĩndorera me kũrĩa mwena wa Mũrang'a na ngaithie arĩa tũthomaga nao kanitha thĩinĩ wa PCA kũrĩa Karen nĩmekũndũmĩte ngaithi maiga ndĩkĩmageithie gũkũ mĩtambo-inĩ ndikamatige.
Pastor wanyu etagwo atĩa?
Etagwo Reverend Gitonga.
No mũgeithie?
Reverend Gitonga mũkĩra ngaithi ciakwa.
Nĩ rutaga gĩcunjĩ gĩa 17?
Kĩu ndingĩaga kũruta.
Mũhothi?
Ciothe hamwe. Ĩni na gũcokia ngatho hamwe. Ciothe hamwe ikarutwo. Nĩguo tũkĩamũkĩre.
Thengi mũno mũndũ wĩtwo BTM gũkũ mũthenya wa ũmũthĩ. Tũinĩre rwĩmbo rũu rũngĩ.
Magena gale
Cheza virtual EPL leagues kwa shabiki.com. Usingoje mechi za English Premier League zichezwe weekendi. Play the virtual leagues now ujishindie hadi 300,000 shillings kila dakika mbili. Chapa chap chap na EPL virtual leagues on shabiki.com. Usingoje. Play now. Not for persons under the age of 18. BCLB number 416.
Tikafagara.
Nina ni mutu.
Nakoro tikafagara. Ona kafodo ni shoge kwe.
Halo? Tatureta kabara yangano na yangima. Teke.
Kafodo ni shokwe.
Aria moi ati kafagara yangi mera sofashi ni shehotaneire. Utorite ngima ya kafagara, tukauga ni urite ngima. Shafashi guthakara, ngima nayo. Tukaini tugetie mutu.
Au usinikoseshe tena. Ugali sasa ni kavagara.
Etia kavagara.
Uradima na kera bimo kenge. Otiga kukosagira ondo inumwe. Omenyate dega iwa iradimo ninge. Amune binya nyagiro tamundo. Moseli etera kwega yasiana. Ungenda rwimbo ruru rwa kirathimo kingi rutwike skiza kodini wa thimo yaku ni undu muhuthu muno guthi thimo-ini yaku hihinya *811*339# na uririkane ati Inoro nikuo mucii wa aini othe.
Mundu uyu wina tumumu wa marangi no akorwo ona muraruta wira nake ni areka maundu maria mangi mothe ona thia githomithio haria uria tuthomithagia cha mundu chatini iria tukoragwo twi nacio mundu ucio ni arona no kiria atangiona ni gukurana marangi tofauti.
Twina gikeno muno tuhana option ikurehera mundu njeru guku muci munene wa Gong iria tureta Achievers Paradise. Mugunda uyu ni ndagika 35 kuma muci munene wa Nyairobi. Ura namba ino 0790 300 300.
na tina mohemba neirie bonaga na tino kanjira oyo morutaga wera nake aramemerira meramba tine ndoigire negekoyo tondu korwo nenie ndoigire ingegire arũme nĩ njagani gĩthaka kĩa mũici mũnyeni nĩgũkana niendo kũnjiguithia cikwĩrwo nĩ niĩ ndeyonera thikũ cia mũici nĩ mĩrongo ĩna kĩmenyetire rĩrĩa rĩa tene kwĩna mũrimũ ũtarĩ na aramemerire merwamba tine ndoigire negekũyũ tondũ korwo nĩ niĩ ndoigire ingegire arũme nĩ andĩke tondũ korwo nĩ niĩ ndoigire ingegire arũme nĩ njegeni tondũ korwo nĩ niĩ ndoigire ingegire arũme iga nawe mwendwa Lucy andũ makwendete ũgĩthiĩ na njĩra Lucy mendago makuone nawe mwendwa Lucy andũ makwendete ũgĩthiĩ na njĩra Lucy mendago makuone Yeni magegona maitho make no tajato tuko naguo ũthiũ wake ũkengaga taime rĩa rũcinĩ magegona maitho make no tajato tuko naguo ũthiũ wake ũkengaga taime rĩa rũcinĩ atĩkĩ warĩkia kũmuona Lucy wona wainũka meciria na iroto ciake itingĩreka ũkome warĩkia kũmuona Lucy wona wainũka meciria na iroto ciake itingĩra igua Yeni Atiza nĩ wanyonera mũirĩtu mũthaka mwerũ mũhoreri mũirĩtu tarĩ inegene ũmbĩtwo Ngai akĩendaga ndaigua nĩonwo gĩkomba na nĩohete gĩtambaya na nguo ya madodo na iratũ cia raba mũirĩtu mwega mũno na mũmando mũno na mwendia ageni nĩatwarwo agathũkia kĩongo akona wega nĩwathiĩ harĩa othe ũngĩkorwo rĩ marakara reke maringĩre ndũgecirie wĩka ũru na nze coka mũciĩ ndũgecirie wĩka ũru na nze coka mũciĩ Yeah. Mũirĩtu mwega mũno na mũmando mũno na mwendia ageni nyaheta agathũkia kĩongo akona wega nĩwathiĩ harĩa othe ũngĩkorwo marakara reke maringĩre ndũgecirie wĩke ũru na nze coka mũciĩ ndũgecirie wĩke ũru thikĩrĩria Jimmy ĩkũganĩre rũgano rwa kũrĩa ndaciarĩirwo iria-inĩ rĩa Naivasha nĩkuo ndaciarĩirwo iria-inĩ rĩa Naivasha nake baba na maitũ mategaga atĩke ayu Sami acada Jimmy ndĩmũthaca kahiũ kamwe gakĩrĩa nĩũndũ wa mwendwa wakwa Jeni Ngoja nĩũndũ wa 2 3 shumana Dora na maithori na ruokoro-ine nĩ maũndũ marĩa nyoneire mũciĩ ũyũ no Ngai nĩ mwega nĩ ahete thayũ na kaũmĩrĩru ngahota gũtoria na tondũ kwĩragwo mũnene nĩ wa mũũru mũthenya wa methanya gacini no ngarĩria no tũkĩrĩria nĩũkona ũrĩa ũkona kageragia gũkaya niĩ na ndigakũigua
magikugwira miaka 17 mena mburi yaku. iTrade ni maheanite makiria ma titles 5,000 ni mendetie Project Star, iTrade Gardens, Topstead Estate Goigwa, Hill Park Estate Roiro na ingĩ nyingĩ. Magikugwira miaka 17 ni maragwitira project ya Very Prime Roiro Kamakis Kiratina 50 by 100 urenderio na thogora wa 850 wagura cash na 900 wagura na installment ukarehana mĩeri 6 warĩha deposit ya 1,100 ukanengererio mbũri. Broti cina ready title deeds. Hora 0752 100 100 Kanoshere Jewel Complex 5th floor Roysambu. iTrade Investment Limited, your trusted real estate partner.
Twende vacay na View Travel. Masai Mara or Amboseli from 14,500. Samburu or Savo from 24K. Mombasa, Diani or Malindi from 14K. Nairobi staycations from 5K. Dubai and Zanzibar from $640. Mauritius, Cape Town and Egypt from $1,000. Maldives, Seychelles and Thailand from $1,200. Call 0703 254 254 for booking.
They say it's in your nature. It's a woman thing. It's having a dream and pursuing it, making a plan and working it. It's starting a business and owning it. As a woman in business, let KCB fire up your female-led and made enterprise, KCB Flame. To find out more, WhatsApp 0711 087 087 or call 0711 087 000 and visit us at any KCB branch countrywide.
Hii imeenda kabisa.
Kila wiki lazima kuwe na mshindi, sio lazima ijae 13.
Shabiki nilianza kitambo, nilikuwa nacheza hii mipira ingine, lakini wakati nilijua kaende nilijaribu kaende, na sababu sasa nimekuwa mshindi wa kaende. Sabiki ni rafiki wangu na ninaichezaga.
Shiriki kwa kutumia 50 bob pekee na ujipe nafasi ya kushinda 500k kwa kupredict 13 games on shabiki.com. Cheza na Autopic kwa kutuma neno KJP kwa 29063. Hata kusipokuwa na mshindi wa all the 13 games, yule atakayepata wa juu zaidi anapewa the 500k kila wiki. Guaranteed. Cheza sasa. Not for persons under the age of 18. BCLB number 416. Shabiki.com.
Oi gai, hena mundu uroka.
My baby is famous for her happy dancing moves because she's always happy. What's the reason for this happiness? Molfix dryness. It's what all mothers dream of. Come on, mothers. Try Molfix baby diapers and be part of our happiness movement.
Okay. Nasema ndina girito ndibare.
Tondu uramini ate mam.
Nakwira tiriri mbarate yaku. Tonyorie nonye.
Ume genyitu. Katuke nyitu. Ona nyomo ko mwezi. Mpe no ithie tule ya ithie.
Tigo oguo. Ati.
Twina gikeno muno tuhana Optivent gwikurehera ngundu njeru guku mucii munene wa Ngong ira tureta Achievers Paradise. Mugunda uyu ni ndagika 35 kuma mucii munene wa Nairobi. Ura namba ino 0790 300 300.
Sisi mwendo wakwa tinga kutekera wazi goroine. Katole niraigua nikindirona ngede nagaja goroine. Sisi mwendo wakwa tinga kutekera wazi goroine. Katole nirona nikindirona ngede nagaja goroine. Boy mwendo sweet demonagu. Boy neno gata negwatarara. Boy mwendo sweet demonagu. Boy neno gata negwatarara. Dato mama roa sweet do shokagia dimoda hora dore kuwa. Kagia dimoda ora dore kuwa kai mwendo akwa oi gire atia kwanyu digane kone kuwa oi mwendo switi demonagu oi neno gata ne gwatara oi mwendo switi demonagu oi neno gata ai cha. Kende tidarone kya
Yes, ndigetekania na ndeto icio nikio wona ngikwirora na ona ndikwaria ona ndarigwo atiriri ndungikiuga ati arume ni nyamu na bandino yaku ihurite arume atheri tege tatithie kandene na microphone ino ya be iyo ya Ndarama twanjie nayo uture ritwa riaku na uture kana arume ni nyamu.
Amaretwa njitagwo Koshita Drama na ngwanjia na hau arume ti nyamu eni
no tukiaragia
ndigo comment muno no reke tuge arume ti nyamu
arume ti nyamu. Yes, tukigithie ni muci na ihenya ndirenda ngithandigirie gaceni ndagika ingi ithano utuinire nyimbo ciaku.
Njitagwo Koshita Drama ngwenda kugeithia mathi mena muthe me mwena wa Ndia ni ngwenda kugeithia jeshi othe tunyitagira rwimbo mwena wa Limuru na Friday ngakorwo haria mwena wa Brena Roach ha Githurai ni ngwenda kugeithia Karo Gazima ngwenda kugeithia JC ni andu ingi muno ingiageithia no reke marogamirwo ni acio he mundu takwenda kuriganirwo iyo ni bara Ndivika wa Mbui ni kukageithia muno haria kari ni ngwenda kugeithia kazini yako etagwo Maki eke acio marogamirire acio angi othe.
Asante sana tethie kandene wengi nayo unaigua Gikuyu Comment s'il t'appelle?
Je m'appelle Christian Rush. Christian Rush.
Yes. Ndio wacha ni translate ndio wa mundu uri utananyita iyo ni French. Comment s'il t'appelle kuria witagwo atia na akiakagwa je m'appelle jetago. Sili kweli?
Kabisa uko right.
Yes. Asante sana.
Ni jetago Alex Keys kana Alex Kenyua anele matanjui na nyambe ngeithie ndereba ciothe ciarikana na mwarimu witũ wa ngita wi harĩa Limuru wĩtagwo Kimwe na ngeithie mathi na kana gakwa na nyina kana gakwa o harĩa marĩ.
Asante.
Harĩ marĩtwa njĩtagwo Kibet kana Jimmy.
Ta Kibet?
Yeah.
Achamge?
Missing.
Sawa. Ndinakoro geithania.
Ya nani ndenda kugeithia mukuru wakwa ari mwena wa Kiamariga mwena wa Karatina na mutumia wakwa etagwo Esther kana gakwa etagwo Sasha na mageithio othe.
Asante sana. Thank you muno neguka gaceni tugituhe mibango yaku ya weekend.
Mibango yaku ya weekend weekend ino ndiri na wira ndinenda kwamba kuoya wira tondu weekend ino ni ndireka media tour ya rwimbo rwakwa rweru ruretwo njera ya wendo. Yes, so ni runjohete kidogo.
Njera ya wendo. Uguo mundu agitua guthie gwetha rwimbo rwaku etheu
gaceni pale Facebook ni gaceni, TikTok ni gaceni, kila mahali ni gaceni.
Ni gaceni.
Yes.
Wene kwira kugeithania
nie no ndimugeithirie inyuothe mafans andu aria othe munyendete ndimwendete few. Thank you for your support. By the way rwimbo ruru rwina thiku 7 na rwina 60k views 7 days. So I love you so much. Asanteni kwa support yenu. Rimwe ni turiganagirwo ni inyue tukona tari ithue. It is you our fans.
Yes. Mundu agienda gwetera wira
ni thakaga irabu-ini birthdays na mohiki no ngenda kuhe wira namba yakwa thimu ni 0729 njuge na Gikuyu Gifogo 7 2 9 3 2 yes 0729 39 22 66 iyo ni namba yakwa ya wira.
Thank you muno gaceni niguo kana ndero gwithie muno ni mundu witagwo PN Nyondo wa Pensmart Dairies mutaaramu wa maundu ma urimi
ni mdosi wakwa
njira gwithie muno ni murata wakwa tukimurio kaundu
mdosi Mr etagwo Nyondo
gwetagwo ni
reke etagwo Nyondo na ni atusapotaga muno so thank you so much sir. Na Ngai akurathime o agibundithagia arimi wira wao.
Asante sana.
Yes.
Ndona mundu witagwo DJ Tosho kanjira gwithirie Karo wa Pharmacy kuria Kenyatta Road Super Highway Estate. Thank you sana mundu witwo DJ Kipawa. Ambia gaceni sisi kama wanaume hatujafurahia tutire nyama mundu witwo Bull akajira akire mitambo-ini kuma kuria bypass ni mugithirie Alex Thegio muno mundu witwo uyu ni Saimo wa thitima thegio muno inyuothe mwaikorwo mukinyandikira MC wa Muting'e wa Jigwa Sansese Lekefa kinyozi mundu gwitwo Gitoga mundu gwitwo Karibu Mukurini wa asante sana na derero haha group ya Village Park wakiongozwa na mheshimiwa wa Hinya na Madam Alice wamependa show yako sana. Ndio mundu itagwo Elijah nake akajira tugagisema ni haria Friday haria SNL muthenya wa Friday twina Elijah wa Jeni nginyagia tugagisema ni muthenya wa rucio ni njitagwo DJ Smalls Gasheni twendere nyimbo cia kucigana na turiki
na ni njitagwo Gasheni kairitu kanini no kuina koi tuine
tushemanagia na kodo kuige na dire da ta kwearia dire dage na o merelu moiga agogo kuereria toaria tigo agatho nigo kwapia na milione watwara neria kietwa ne wadona gatukanero okwero menya ni kwadete kietwa ne wadona gatukanero okwero menya ni ende waku ne wakenyitira megwate oketo ajara yaenda igeti agone kana toshemanie anagatanda dukando igeti agone kana toshemanie anagatanda kuo hanene Gasheni skin kore muthenya urakinya hote gukwirora gwendete ngugurire uria waguciriirie ngoro onokorwo nduri wamenya muthenya ucio nindeumicaga ukinya na ihenya ndiarie niguo nie ngoro na ciagagwaithire na hindi yongirikia rethi niguo ne ngoro na ciagagwaithire na hindi yongirikia rethi niwakenyitire migwate ukitoa agwane kana tushemanie anagatanda dukando igeti agwane kana tushemanie anagatanda kuo hanire yeri kamisha kaire tuna shuina na konga sheni kaingera
ugeni gwaku mucii wigurire mucere wa kopia, shukari wa kopia, njahi cia kopia, kamanda ga kopia kana ndengu cia kopia na thogora mubashirire. Kopia, maisha rahisi.
Hii imeenda kabisa.
Mimi ni Emmanuel, natoka Bungoma, but nafanya kazi kaunti ya Nyandarua. Hii mchezo nilisikia kwa radio, mtu wa kwanza akishinda shabiki.com. Pia mimi hapo ndo nikaanza kushiriki. Mimi nilipata game 11 na nikawa mshindi. Nafurahia sana siku ya leo.
Shiriki kwa kutumia 50 bob pekee na ujipe nafasi ya kushinda 500k kwa kupredict 13 games on shabiki.com. Cheza na Autopic kwa kutuma neno KJP kwa 29063. Hata kusipokuwa na mshindi wa all the 13 games, yule atakayepata wa juu zaidi anapewa the 500k kila wiki. Guaranteed. Cheza sasa. Not for persons under the age of 18. BCLB number 416. Shabiki.com.
Unlike other insecticides which are imported, Bolt is primarily manufactured with locally grown pyrethrum, which means that local farmers benefit and our economy grows. Buy Kenya, build Kenya.
Na turafatara Royco Cubes igere, todo Royco Cubes ciena iron. Kwogo iga kuhe mayo magwe sukuma na gutura we na hinya.
Sukuma na Royco, kula sukuma na Royco, sukuma wiki na Royco.
Tunapika nini leo? Mchele. Na spenza.
Penzi spenza. Uko wapi? Tamu wako wa kipekee. Wakichokoza ni kubonde. Ladha yako wacha tu. Ukatamu spenza. Na nyeupe spenza. Yapatikana kote nchini, bei yake is the best.
Penza, tulete familia pamoja.
Niwiriragiria kugia mugunda wina miti migima. Highsop Properties Limited turakurehera Viwandani Estates Phase 4 Naikuru. Ici ni broti cia 50 by 100 na cia kundu kwega muno gwa gwaka mucii. Broti ici ciriganitie na Gisheha Avocado Farms kwina mai ma borehole na thitima ciikuo. Viwandani Estates Phase 4 ni ndagika 5 tu kuma Nakuru Eldoret Highway na cie hakuhi na Rami. Broti turakwenderia thogora mubashirire wa 649,000. Ndukareke mweke wa kwigwatira mugunda na miti migima ukumonyoke. Tuhurire thimu 0707 666 000 kana utume kiugo Nakuru kuri namba 21404.
Ungienda rwimbo rwa mwaki wa mĩciĩ rũkorwo rwĩsikiza kodi yaku hihinya *812*790#. Ririkana Inoro nĩguo mũciĩ wa aini othe.
Shesheni ya Inoro TV.
While other cleaners blow away, Harpic 10X's viscous formula in only one round of application gives you sparkling, clean toilet. Harpic, 10 times better cleaning than other cleaning products.
And great savings too.
color blindness. Na gĩkĩ hita rĩngĩ nĩ kĩũria kĩana korwo na andũ aingĩ mũno makĩria kana magakorwo makĩũrania color blindness nĩ kuga atĩa. Na maita maingĩ hĩndĩ ĩrĩa twarĩrĩria ũhoro wĩgiĩ color blindness, athuri kana arũme nĩo mamũrĩkagwo mũno makĩrwo arũme matitũbatishanaga marangi. No tũtiũĩ kana nĩ mũrimũ, nĩkĩo twĩta specialist wa maitho gũthĩnjana na kũmarigita Dr. Patrick Kibe akoragwo AIC Kijabi Mission Hospital, na nĩ akoragwo ona nginyagia kũrĩa Gomena Kitengela na nginya kũndũ kũingĩ athiaga agĩceraga ũguo nĩ tondũ wa ũrigitani. Na hwaĩ-inĩ wa ũmũthĩ nĩ tũkwenda kũmenya color blindness nĩ mũrimũ na nĩyo tũkwarĩrĩria. Angĩkorwo hihi ta rĩngĩ wendio kana nĩ ũhotaga gũtofautisha marangi ta rĩu watũrora ũguo mũndũ akahota kũmenya fulani ĩyo Wambui ĩkĩrĩte nĩ ya rangi ũrĩkũ, igoti rĩrĩa Dr. Kibe ĩkĩrĩte nĩ rĩa rangi ũrĩkũ, ũguo marangi ta macio gũkũhota gũtofautisha. Dr. Kibe, karibu.
Asante. Athikĩrĩria na eroreri a Inoro, rekei ndĩmũgeithie handũ hothe marũma mũrĩega. Nyambe ndume ngeithi ciakwa nyingĩ mũno kũrĩa turutaga na wĩra kũrĩa Kijabe Hospital, tondũ nĩmekũnjĩrĩte ndoka gũkũ Wambui ngũgeithie. No ciamũkĩra?
Nĩ ndaciamũkĩra.
Weekend ĩrathirire ndĩrarĩ kũndũ gwĩtagwo Karũnga na kũrĩa Girigiri, na andũ a Karũnga maranjĩra ngũgeithie na nĩmendete Inoro. Ndĩrauma hau ndĩrathiĩ kũndũ gwĩtagwo Gĩtare, ndĩracemania na atumia a ndigwa na mapastors maranjĩra ngũgeithie. No ciamũkĩra?
Ndageithĩka mũno makĩria
na cia mũico nĩ cia kuma kũndũ gwĩtagwo Rangaranga o kũrĩa Girigiri maranjĩra ngũgeithie mũno mũno mũno, matongoretio nĩ chairman wa athuri a nyumba kumi kana athuri a chief etagwo wa Mwini, aranjĩra ngũgeithie mũno na kwĩroragĩra akaigua kenete mũno. Ũguo ngamũkĩra ngeithi icio no wĩke wega.
Ndamũkĩra ciaku cia Karũnga, cia Langalanga,
cia Gĩtare,
cia chairman ciothe
na cia Kijabi,
na nginya tũgacitambia kũrĩa rũreri. Ndaririkana kanitha wamenya rwĩmbo rũu nao nĩ tũgũkũgoca Jesũ, andũ mageithanagio ũguo cia rĩera-inĩ. Koguo kĩgeithĩke harĩa hothe ũrĩ mwĩroreri, na nĩtwacamũkĩra hamwe na timu yothe ya ndagĩtarĩ tondũ tũgĩkoragwo ro nao. Matinageithia
Lydia ngeithi ciake nĩ gũka thutha.
Mati haya niguo ni sawa sawa. Na ũcio raigua Lydia nĩ producer itũ, na hamwe na timu yothe ya ndagĩtarĩ tũnyitanagĩra haha nĩgetha twoke hwaĩ-inĩ ta rĩu ũguo tũrokũra wĩra ũrĩa tũrutaga na gũkũ ũguo thutha wĩra ũtarona nĩgetha tũkinyanĩrie tabarĩra na marimoti yaku ndĩngĩeheraga kana werorera gũtirĩ hĩndĩ ũngĩaga notebook yaku ũkandĩka na nĩgetha ũhote gũteithia mũndũ ũcio ũngĩ. So Dr. Kibe, color blindness nĩ mũrimũ?
Thank you Wambui. Rĩrĩa tũraria ũhoro wa color blindness, kau nĩwamenya kĩu nĩ Gĩthũngũ? Ũguo Gĩkũyũ tugaga nĩ marangi, ũtumumu wa marangi. Ũririkane haha hena tofauti, tũrauga ũtumumu wa kĩ? Wa marangi, ti ũtumumu tũgatigĩra hau. Aca, ndĩrenda kwamba gũtofautisha atĩ ũtumumu ti ũtumumu wa marangi. Mũndũ gĩtumumu nĩ mũndũ wĩna wathe wa kuona, ũtarona rĩngĩ ona nĩ kũnyitwo ũranyitwo guoko. Hihi nĩ ũndũ wa maũndũ matiganĩte, maitho make nĩ morire kaimana ndonaga. Hihi nĩ ũndũ wa mĩrimũ ta glaucoma, accident, maũndũ ta macio guo. Ona ningĩ to acio, ona arĩa manyuaga njohi ici ngananie nĩ ithiaga igathũkia ritho na rĩkora piũ. Ũguo rĩ, ũtumumu wa marangi ti ũtumumu ũrĩa twaragia ũhoro ũtumumu kaimana. Na nĩkĩo tũrauga ũtumumu wa kĩ? Wa marangi. Mũndũ ũyũ wĩna ũtumumu wa marangi no akorwo ona mũraruta wĩra nake, nĩ areka maũndũ marĩa mangĩ mothe, ona athiĩ agĩthomithio harĩa ũrĩa tũthomithagia mũndũ chat-inĩ iria tũkoragwo twĩ nacio, mũndũ ũcio nĩ arona. No kĩrĩa atangĩona nĩ gũkũrana marangi tofauti. Ũguo rĩrĩa tũraria ũhoro wa ũtumumu wa marangi, nĩ mũndũ ũtangĩhota gũtofautisha rangi mũna na rangi mũna. Nĩ kũrĩ andũ makoragwo wamũnengere rangi wa yellow rĩ, ndangĩhota gũtofautisha na rangi wa blue. Wona wamũnengere wa green rĩ, akaga gũtofautisha na rangi mũtune. No maũndũ maya mangĩ mothe nĩ arona na nĩ areka gũkũ uburia wothe areka no mukorwo na riu mwina kuria mwiguku ndi njui ni mukoragwo na andu ta Madam Lydia ni mukoragwo na Masi ni mukoragwo na Karuga ni mukoragwo na andu aingi muno na murutaga wira hamwe na no makorwo andu acio ri ti atumumu no ni kuri amwe ao atumumu amarangi ungimuria rangi munari ndangihota kumenya
ita watiri na Neli aria mekagira macicio
ona ta origi no makorwo mari no
atumumu ni ahotaga kumenya marangi
no akorwo rigi ni hari angi makoragwo mena atumumu wa marangi mararuta guku Royal Media ona guku kwa Inoro
ni disability ni wathe
yes no njuge ni wathe tondu niki kiratuma njuge ni wathe Wambui ni hari mawira marutagwo na mendaga mundu urahota gutumira marangi
no athoma mecire tondu ni ngwendete hau twathiaga mbere nguria atiriri aikorwo mundu ndarahota gutofautisha rangi mundu no akiheo guthinja mundu no akiheo wira toyo wa kumemerekia mundu to no akiheo wira wa kwendia nguo no akiheo wira ni uriku wa kuhaka marangi
ni weka wega Wambui ni kuria tondu mundu eno utumumu wa marangi ri mabũrũri mangi no age tariu ngioka guku njukire na ndereba witu ni mwega muno witagwo Gitonga
Mr Gitonga na ageithike
na ndehire wega muno
na haha na ithu ageithike muno makiria Ngai amurathime
na ndereba ucio ugwitwo Gitonga ri njukire ngira acecaga kana ni ari no tumumu wa marangi no ndekumenyaga no ndereba witu ni ndikirie kumenya ati ndari no tumumu wa marangi
especially mwakinya hare ha traffic
one hau niho ndorete mundu we no tumumu wa marangi karia yake no itume mundu acenjie karia
ndangituika ndereba
akorwo ni ta ndereba witu ucio gwitwo Gitonga ri no age kuheo marua mabũrũri maria mathiete na mbere mangi mathiete na mbere no age kuheo marua ma ndereba tondu aratongorio ni traffic lights na angikorwo ndereba uyu ndekuhota gutofautisha rangi wa green na rangi mutune ri eguthia kinya hau handu ha kuona rangi wa green arona mutune akarugama akatuma accident yuke haria eritwo kirari ndarakira arakira riria eritwo ndugakire uguo
kendige gutheka ni serious mwathani njebera
uguo thina uyu wa tumumu wa marangi ri ni serious to no utume mundu ate wira tondu riu angikorwo ni ndereba ri neo ucio niho no mugate wake umaga ri mundu uyu ri ndegwite wira niki ni egute wira uguo ri utumumu wa marangi ni ugwati na niguo twambe tumenye marangi ni mariku ri ni ukuririkana twi primary na secondary muno twi primary ni twabundithagio horo wa primary colors secondary colors and tertiary colors
na color chart
na ni kuri angi matamariganirwo ni horo ucio ndoreke Wambui nyambe ndirikanie andu ma primary colors na ma secondary colors na tuthio na kone ma tertiary colors
na mbere ndagitari
ni tukurora mbica haria niguo tugerie kuririkana marangi maria ma primary na maria ma secondary colors
good taru hau kwambiriria ha primary ucio niguo rangi uria njikirite umuthi
ndirenda turore chart ino haha
one by one
chart ino haha ndirenda ndimigayanie na ikundi ithatu he gikundi gigatagati gaturayango na he gikundi kingi giukite gigathiururukira gaturayango kau na ni hari gikundi kingi kinja kia raundi gakundi gaka gaturayango ge thiini ri macio ni mutwitaga primary colors turari uhoro wa rangi uriku mutune wa yellow na wa blue riu ni kuri mundu ngingimwonia marangi macio ni ekurigwo ndamuri ino akanjira ati anga ni rangi anga wa blue kuri angi makoragwo mahana uguo maya nimo ma primary colors itithondekekaga ni undu wa gutukania marangi mangi cituraga uguo secondary colors ni iria ciukaga riria twatukania primary colors igiri atiriri tungioya rangi mutune na tuoye rangi wa blue tutukanie ugutuhe rangi uyu
purple
twi hamwe ngwenda kuigua kana ni ukwa kigeranio wa mbui tungioya rangi wa yellow na wa blue tutukanie ugatuhe rangi uyu turawita secondary color na niguo rangi uriku
green
tungioya rangi uyu wa yellow na wa red tutukanie ugatuhe secondary color ari uriku
mustard
twi hamwe riu ni tuuma primary colors na tweka kigeranio twina wa mbui na ahituka tondu ni amenya secondary colors uguo tuumaga ka triangle ka mbere na twatonyaga keri ariko ga secondary colors tungiuma hau tuoe rangi wa secondary color na tutukanie na primary color ugutuhe rangi ungi uri urawona haha na niguo tertiary color dark green kiria kiratuma one njikirite ka primary gaka niguo gakona ke haha na ngekira gaka kona ga secondary ke haha twatukania rangi uyu noyo watuhe uyu noyo menye uyu ni secondary color neno ni primary color twatukania primary color na secondary color yatuhe tertiary color okay
yes
twacoka twauma hau ri tuoe rangi wa blue
yes bold blue
na tuoe purple tumetukanie igutuhe tertiary color ari weno
dark purple
okay eno turamita tertiary color uria tukoragwo twina kirathi kia primary gia secondary na kia university arikio twitaga tertiary uguo ri ndarehe no niki tondu andu aingi wona wa marehe kwi marangi maya matingihota
good aya ru ndagitari ni kuri na njira nguhi mundu tangihota gutofautisha primary secondary and tertiary kana ni mothe
ni kuri amwe tari maria makoragwo me maingi muno ri ni primary colors kindu kunjuritie kana ni wa utumumu
yes
ndirari gutwara ngari yakwa ngekirwo blundering na marathie ni kuri andu metaga ate magemagia ngari
acio graphics
graphics mundu wa graphic angikorwo ena thina wa color blindness ndagiruta wira ucio tondu warora rangi haria nguthie njuge ndenda njikirirwo papu na niona warora papu ikuhaniriirie muno na rangi cia nona nguthie ndimwire njikirira rangi wa yellow agathie akanjikirira uri ungi wita nona ngari wona umore kwendaga ri uri kwendaga tigwe hana na kuguo ri ni ugwati muno kuri mundu ina color blindness tonde kuhota kuruta mawira mamwe na ringi ucio no gwira uria angihota kuruta hatiri wira ungi angihota kuruta koguo color blindness
no tuite wathe
ni wathe
he undu turikagia Dr. Kibe tukiriketa barina ntugaga ti ugima mwega wa mwiri ni kirathimo riu kire gitumaga tuge uguo ri mundu wi hau uratwirorera ri urarora hita ringi sitting room yaku ukamenya curtain yakwa ni blue urarora ite ni golden urarora carpet ukamenya carpet yakwa ni kina urarora kiria kingi ukahota kumenya giki ni kina na kina no ni hari mundu wi hau ndangihota gukira rangi uyu ni uriku kana akwira ni uyu ti uyu na nginyagia no wega twambiririe kurora ciana nginya kuma ciri nini riu nginya ria tukwiraga ati ugima mwega mwiri ni kirathimo tamaka nginya kuhota kumenya rangi ni uriku imagine ona kiu no kirathimo no cio ni uhotekeku wa maitho maku oro ndumwe na brain yaku kuhota gukwira uguo riu tugicoka gicunji gia keri ndagitari ni egutwira atiriri mundu amenyaga ati wi color blind na nire ukinyaga ugatororokia ugakinya ati nginya haturerwo ati mundu no atema wira mamwe ni tondu wa gukorwo ati we ndarahota gutofautisha marangi matiganite ogo tugika thiini wa gicunji gia keri ndugathie haraya
Kikapu Kibonge. Pick up key extra offers. Choose from a Kibunda of products. get kibiki discounts. Kwa hivyo, you can beba more of your favorite fresh foods and household products. Naivas saves you money.
Kaka kuna kitu nimelearn kwa hii life, my god. Patience. Nimengoja hii driver's seat for 10 years.
10 years.
10 years nimengoja.
That is how long between the first time and now?
Yes.
Okay.
God does not fumble with you.
No.
I'm telling you, Cynthia, like God alika hivi akadecide this is it for you. Like you've been waiting for this thing. You've been waiting for this, now I'm giving it to you. Stop listening to others. Stop wacha kusikiza. Mbona unasikiza vitu? So in whatever thing that you do, just be yourself and do the best.
To watch this story and more, download the Citizen Digital app. Scroll left on the menu bar to the exclusive videos portal. Once here, scroll the videos and find this and many more exciting stories lined up for you. Click on the video to play and enjoy.
Kenya's #1 app, Citizen Digital.
Tikafagara.
Wĩra nĩ mũtu.
Nakoro tikafagara. Ona kabotho ni ucio gĩkue.
Halo, taturete na kabara ya ngano na ya ngima. Teke.
Kabotho ni ucio kue.
Aria moi ati kabagara ya ngima na cabaci ni ciehotanĩire. Utarĩte ngima ya kabagara, ndũkauge nĩ ũrĩte ngima. Cabaci gũthakara, ngima nayo. Tukaini tugetie mutu.
Na usinikoseshe tena. Ugali sasa ni kabagara.
Etia kabagara.
Shamba ni title. Nayo kampuni ya Golden Dreams Land and Properties Limited ni ihotanĩire harĩ ũheani wa title deed na nĩkĩo maragwĩtĩra project yao njerũ nĩyo Matu Ayana Gardens na 15 kuma Matu Town. Nĩ buroti cia 50 by 100 na guothogora ni ciringi 280 ukigũra kahora na cash ni ciringi 260. Kwĩna maĩ na thitima. Oho twĩna Malindi Precious Gardens 25 kuma Malindi Town na 2.5 kilometers kuma Marereni. Buroti ciringi cirio gada cia Shubeta Ken Salt na Malindi Salt na thogora ni ciringi 120 na ni hamwe na marĩhi ma title deed. Ũhoro makĩria tũcerero Iru Town BD House gorofa ya 3 kana ũhure 0718004455. Golden Dreams Land and Properties Limited, your home, your comfort.
Horo wa tumumu wa marangi ni mũndũ ũtangĩhota gũtofautisha rangi mũna na rangi muno.
Niĩ nĩndĩranyita no ngoro ndĩranyita tondũ ngoro yakwa ĩhenagia mũno.
Tũthiĩ na mbere na thabarĩ itũ no make sure nĩwamũhũrĩra thimũ.
This is my mother we are talking about.
Tuko pamoja maishani tuinuane. Maishani tuinuane. Ifafani wewe kanga mesie Ode haingatio kama sokerelia Atume kungoro kama onia Noka moangura rosia.
Ungienda rwĩmbo rwa mwaki wa mĩciĩ rũkorwo rwĩcikiza kodi yaku hihinya *812*790#. Ririkana Inoro nĩguo mũciĩ wa aini othe.
gĩcunjĩ gĩa kerĩ gĩkĩ na tũrathiĩ na mbere wega na Dr. Patrick Kibe. Mũthenya ũmũthĩ twĩna topic interesting mũno ũhoro wĩgiĩ color blindness. Nĩyo tũraria ũhoro wayo kana mũndũ hihi rĩngĩ gũkorwo atĩ ena ũhoro wĩgiĩ ũtumumu wa marangi. Na no aigua atĩ nĩ gũgũkinya handũ atĩ mũndũ ũrĩa ũrona color akorwo nĩ primary color, secondary color, ona kana tertiary color, ona kana rangi ta ũrĩa hihi rĩngĩ ũngĩkĩrora Inoro TV, ta rĩu rangi Inoro TV ndũkoragwo na marangi ma blue na red and white. Icio nĩcio corporate color citũ kana logo citũ, kana Inoro TV ũkĩmĩrora icio nĩcio brand color citũ. Na hihi rĩngĩ nĩ ũkorwo thĩinĩ wa tabarĩra ya ndagĩtarĩ, tondũ ũrigiti wothe maita maingĩ ũkoraga rangi wa blue, na mũno makĩria ti blue ĩno nditũ mũno makĩria nĩ healing blue. Tondũ na blue no tofauti, kũrĩ nayo bold blue tũkuonaga harĩa, na tarĩu ĩno tũkoragwo nayo studio itũ, ĩno nĩ healing blue. Kana ũgĩthiĩ mathibitarĩ nĩ ũkoraga ka blue keho, ti kũndũ ũkoraga thibitarĩ ciothe ciĩna ka blue gaka kahanaine, tũmĩtaga healing blue. Ndagĩtarĩ mũnyandĩke wĩra rĩu ningĩ ndĩkwĩra ũrĩkũ kũmenya marangi aya, na koguo hau nĩho tũrĩ. No nĩ harĩ andũ matakũhota hihi rĩngĩ kũmenya marangi macio nĩ marĩkũ. But they no tũgũ challenge ũkĩrora tha icio gĩtwĩrorera rĩ, nĩ marangi marĩkũ ũrahota kũmenya ndagĩtarĩ nguo yake hanona, Wambui ĩkĩrĩte nguo hanona, warora gwaku uhanona. Nĩ kũrĩ mwana wanona wĩna wathe ta ũyũ, na ndagĩtarĩ ciana ici tũngĩcimenyera ha atĩ mwana wakwa ena thĩna wa color blindness?
Good. Kĩũria kĩega. Mbere ya gũcokia kĩũria kĩu Wambui rĩ, rĩrĩa tũraria ũhoro wa color blindness, thĩna ũcio mũno mũno ũkoragwo arĩ kĩ? Ritho rĩa mũndũ na harĩa thutha, mũico wa ritho rĩa mũndũ harĩa tũhetaga retina, rĩa ya mũico ya ritho ĩtagwo retina, na retina rĩno ĩtagwo retina ĩkoragwo ĩna indo cigũkinya ithatũ cia bata mũno. Kĩa mbere, optic nerve ĩrĩa ĩkuaga ndũmĩrĩri kuma hakiri-inĩ gũthiĩ thĩinĩ wa kuma ritho gũthiĩ thĩinĩ wa hakiri. Number 2, mĩkiha ya thakame ĩrĩa ĩkuaga thakame kũrehe thĩinĩ wa retina na gũcokia. Number 3, macula. Macula rĩ nĩ gacehemu keho kanini mũno ga kĩndũ 0.3 millimeters, kanini mũno na nĩ ka bata mũno thĩinĩ wa ritho. Thĩinĩ wa macula rĩ, hakairia kau rĩ, kena mũthemba ũmwe wa cells tũciĩtaga cones. Cones nĩ cells iria ikoragwo igĩcugurisha na ũhoro wa colors. Hau macula ĩyo tondũ nĩ hakahekairia kanini gakoragwo kena kĩndũ cells milioni 6 nginya 7, 7 to 6 million cells cia aina ya cones iria ikoragwo cikĩhucika na ũhoro wa colors na brightness. Hau no area no ĩngĩ yothe ya retina rĩ, ĩna cells no icio tũciĩtaga rods. Rods wĩra wacio nĩ wotheri, na nĩcio wonaga nĩ ũrona nacio tukũ ũu na mũthenya. Cones rĩ ikoragwo ci mũno mũno ikĩdeal na ũhoro wa brightness na ũhoro wa colors. Rĩrĩa mũndũ ena thĩna wa color blindness, harĩa hena thĩna nĩ cells iciĩtagwo cones. Na cells iciĩtagwo cones cingĩgĩa na thĩna, hau nĩho kuona mũndũ nĩ aremwo nĩ gũtofautisha marangi. Na rĩu rĩ, angĩkorwo handũ haha kana cones ici ciĩna thĩna rĩ, ũkũmenya mũndũ ena thĩna atĩa? Nĩ toguo tugire mũndũ nĩ aratwara ngari, tawa wakia wa green ahĩtũke, mũndũ ũcio gaikara akinyĩte ngari arogamĩte oro
tondũ
arona rangi ũrĩa mũtune na ti gwĩtua. Rĩrĩa na mũno mũno thĩna ũyũ ũkoragwo na arũme.
Nĩho ngwendete gũkũria, nĩ kuga atĩ cones cia arũme nĩ cikoragwo cikĩrĩ thũku tondũ maita maingĩ nĩ ũkora matiramenya rangi.
Arũme around 8% nĩ makoragwo mena thĩna ũcio wa marangi gũkĩra atumia, na gũtimenyekanĩte nĩkĩ, no nĩ makoragwo mena thĩna ũcio makĩria ya atumia. Na kũmenya ena thĩna ũcio atua gũtwara rĩngĩ ngari ũkona yekĩra redi, tondũ arona red na blue na green ria ngene raciĩngĩcithania akona tarĩ yo yakana ageka atĩa agakĩra ũguo no ũmenye na njĩra ya mũthemba ũcio kĩrĩa kĩngĩ ningĩ nĩ okorwo mwĩna ciana na wĩna mwana gwaku mũrie kara ĩno nĩ ĩrĩkũ nĩekwaga gũkwĩra otherwise andũ no matũre mũno ona ciana no ikare nacio ũtarĩ wamenya kana ciana mwana waku ena thĩna wa marangi tondũ ndũratura
nginya rĩrĩa tarĩ primary nĩ ũkoraga ũgĩkora thĩinĩ wa kindergarten kana thĩinĩ wa tatha ici me PP1 PP2 PP3 gũthiĩ ũguo nĩ ũkoraga atĩ kĩndũ kĩa mbere mamenya ABCD na 1 to 10 the next examination mwarimũ ekaga nĩ ya marangi ukora kuihurite marangi kana ukiroga shira kana rogo kagemerie marangi tofauti nigetha kabiri kana he kindu nyonaga pediatric neurologist kana koronita marigitari maciana igiuga ke neurologist akorora horo wigi brain na maundu maria mangi kana ona nginyagia ndagitari wa ciana ni ukora kindu kia mbere arakuhe pediatricians niko kwiragurira mwana waku toys ciana marangi matiganite kana to balls to ingi kana tunyamu uguo twagwaka na rimwe tukarigwo ni kuga atia
good ungithie ward yothe ya ciana tondu ndagitari acio a ciana makoragwo me sensitive na ni maramenya mara deal na uguthii ugakora gwikiritwo turangi tofauti ono ngiuka KJF ni ukuona ndagitari aria kana staffs nurses aria marawak pediatric ward guo ciao tita cia yangi ukona ena tumarangi twa green twa red twa white igitoretwo tukatuni tuturi tuticoretwo na rangi umwe ni turangi tofauti wathie kindergartens kana ciana rĩrĩa irathoma rĩrĩa irareherwo tumarangi tuingi tuindo twina marangi tuingi toys twa red twa green ukona mwana ũcio mwarimu no ahiũhe kumenya mwana ũyũ ena thĩna wa gũtofautisha colors ona gũkĩra mũciari tondũ mwĩkũrĩa ona uma wĩra-inĩ we ũrathiĩ ũkamarugĩra irio kamahe magathaka magathiĩ magakoma no kũrĩa mwarimu nĩ amũnengere kara ĩno ũrĩa aramabundithia kara nĩ ekuona mwana ũyũ ndaramenya kara ĩno neno nĩ ekũhota gwĩka atĩa ku differentiate ona kũrĩa thibitarĩ.
And by the way Dr. Kibe ndanaigua rotogwo rauga ndagĩtarĩ wa maitho wa ciana otoguo uga ni kuri na andu agima na wa ciana akiuga horo wigi marangi ni matwaranaga na personality niguo ati mundu wa mundu umumbire wa mundu tondu turiendete andu aria bubbly ni mendete marangi ndukandore ngutagitari so no gakora by the way ani mahena kaundu tondu ni andu aria nje marakaraga manunaga ni ukoraga matiendete marangi bright ukora mundu ucio eturangi tudal tutaramenyeka turangi twi hau ndikwenda kugweta nigetha matikuge ni ndirera so
ndikwenda kwaria horo ucio muno tondu thomeire hau no ni njui ati ni itwaranaga
personality
na personality na igwa no ndithomete muno horo wa personality
no kire psychologist tutariria kana ni
psychologist no agerie kututaria tondu yo mathomete horo wa personality cia andu ona psychiatrist still no mathomete horo wa personality disorders koguo uri ingihota kuga ni kuga atiriri no uhote kumenya mwana waku ena mathina agikorwo nawe wi keen no horo wa marangi tariu ngithie ona ngoga kuria thibitari KJF utonye better ni kids okuona gucoretwo tunyamu tofauti na makadi tunyamu tuingi we na wathie ona kuria playroom yao kona ena tuindo tu twa marangi tofauti ungithie thibitari ya ciana especially ya maitho gwa ciana ni ukuona rumu yo ona painting yakuo ni tofauti na kuria kungi ndigukorwo blue ta giki asa ina maundu mangi no kona nginyo na riria maratua kuoya visual actire marageria kurora uhoro wa mwana kuona ni mamunengeraga tunyamu tofauti no hari chat mundu oka nayo angioka thibitari tugeragia kumenya kana mundu ucio ena color blindness tariu tungimikira hare to ni gwikirwo hau ri ni ukuona ni tuthanduku tumitaga kuria thibitari tumitaga ishahara chart ishahara chart ongerora ishahara chart iyo ri ona no mwike test ona muri nyuika okera mundu aguthomere karia ka 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 akwire ni namba iri kwiyandikitwo hau ni kuri mundu utangikwira angikorwo ena color blindness ungithie gaka ka mwisho lairo ya mwisho number 1 2 3 umurie niki kiandikitwo hau
ukurora tugwika test na mwiroreri aya mwiroreri wi mucie wi haririe riu ni twakwirire ati mwaka uyu ni kuchangamka
riu ndirenda tuke ha we mwiroreri wi kuria mucie na wi TV ni urore screen ni no itu na ni ukuona hena tusako kana tuthiururi kamwe twiri tutatu tuna tutano tutandatu mugwanja tunana kenda 10 na kamwe na twiri na tutatu na tutano thini wa tuthiururi tuuri hena tuthotwe na marangi tofauti na hena namba ikiritwo hau gatagati ndahutia gakari no njire ni na icio ni namba iriku ciandikitwo hau
tumuhe second shigana mwiroreri 1 2 and 3 4 5 ni njiganu tumwire ni 45
icio ni 45 ndegi wa bui mwiroreri ndio kana no wahituka kana no wagwa niwe wa ukwimenya tume hau no tuthie gwigathiururi gaka na koria kahana ukarore wega tukuheo second ithano oria wa bui ekugite niguo karore wega utwire iyo niriku icoretwo hau thiini
1 2 3 4 5 seconds ni ciathira ni number
5 karat kanyamu gaka tugetaga ishahara chat ni kuri andu muithikiriria kana mwiroreri witu we wauga ni number 5 ugiringia twira kindu kingi na riu agikorwo wendu na kio no guo ri nduke thibitari niguo tugikuone niguo tumenye thina hari uri gaka ni kanyamu kamwe karia tutumiraga kwa access marangi mundu uka kuria thibitari no tutumire no na no ituteithie
ire ya mbere ni tutuihurie tuothe
tuothe ni tuihurie mwiroreri gaka ni kariku
57
eno neriku 29 ke turugamire hau niguo ngutigire hau huke hangi niguo uke thibitari tondu twathoma tuothe ri ukuga no wahituka na waguka thibitari uka thibitari
aya he hindi twana korwo tuthiete gucerera Dr. Kivata urona kino mutaramu tena ni njui muri arata muno by the way na twathiere test imwe ndonire agikithia thiini wa machine ya nywire ya metirie ati he ndetire machine iyo ya kurora agakwira ucuthiririe no hote guthomera namba iyo hau na agakuria nginya riu rangi agupointagira agakwira taru yo twathoma namba 5 na 40 watt 5 nayo 57 na 29 agakwira riu urore ni rangi uriku tu tuothe aga pinpoint na agakwira urore.
Dr. Kibata is my senior and he's a very good man.
Wow.
Na when you have anything udukonie maitho wigue Dr. Kibata please menya niwe hare hagirire.
Wow.
He's my senior and he's a nethomithitie na ni ndagitari mwega iguru muno gwiciria thiini wa bururi witu wa Kenya ndagitari Kibata ari kirathi kimwe kihare iguru udukonie maitho na muno diabetic ni specialized nakuo muno oguo ri ukaigua ritwa ndagitari Kibata no thio muone umenye maundu maku mothe ni mekwagira
no mwire muruto wake gwitwo Dr. Patrick Kibeni amugeithire and I love that yani urari uhoro wa senior waku na ndagitari ungi
he's my senior handu iguru muno hare iguru muno ona ingimuona no
wow
tondu ni ndagitari ndimwendete ona ndimutumagira arwaru aingi muno ndamona ndimeraga mathima mone kare nyamu kare tangihota kuhutia first choice yakwa ni Dr. Kibata.
Wow.
He's a very senior doctor. Uguo no kaikarira gati gaka haha ndingiaria no ngirire.
Okay. Arutwo riothe tugithomithitio memerekio rene thi mugatugana uguo gutucambagia
so riu ino niwe mwire tutumiraga ni kuri machine nyingi muno. Dr. Kibata ni ari machine icio. He is very advanced no horo equipment na no atumire machine ona kwa access even those colors. Kwa hivyo ri machine yote urauga ni gukura na akuria ni rangi uriku na niguo higo no kwa assess ya assess yes
ni kurora ararora ni kuri angi maroraga uguo tuge taringi uguo arora environment no we ni urona rangi uria ni mweru na kaundu gaka ni gathiega ni ukoraga kuri andu meguo muthemba muuna hitaringi rangi cio ni kuma attract kana no uguo monaga haya ni kuri andu hitaringi nginya ukoraga riri mekiraga nguo rangi umwe akorotira ngiumwe guo muthemba wiho we no konaga ai mundu nguo ciake ciothe ni cia brown akoroti guo mundu ni endete rangi wa white muno makiria na maundu ta macio ma mothe uririkane turari uhoro igi color blindness kana utumumu wa marangi gicunji giki gia gatatu ni tuguka Dr. Kibia twiri atiriri ni makinyaga handu makaya kurigita mundu na agikorwo hitaringi ni megukinya marigite mundu ri ni maundu mariku maroraga na maacesaga maundu mariku tiga thengia ino wa mita chati wa ishahara chat nigetha makirore na nigetha oaseso no nginyagia hau turiri marangi we ni uri thina wa mu kumenya o ni rangi uriko ni ngoikonie kana ni wa blue kana ni uriko nitugucokereria ro riu gicunji gitari kunene kahinda gatari kuraya
Inoro FM Mugi ni Mutare
Inoro
Aina gimeno no ikaire muno we na kane kanini ongerera gima man hey tabai mukire haha heno horo mwega niguo gukuhotithia kugura buroti guku Top Care ni twagwithia thogora wa booking hari buroti citu ciothe nginya 50.
Uhoro ucio ni wa ma ni tuthie inde mutwara kuri andu aya mari
oh yes guku Top Care twaga booking ni 50 na mu mathogora ri ni gutinangia tutigirire we ni we gwatira buroti twina mugunda juja wa 595 na Jos kan 395,000 only
tosherera roiro kana utohorera thimu namba niyo 0708 000
Top Care ni mucie waku mwehokeku wa uigithia.
Sasa mnaweza mkakava mali na bizenu zote kutokana na risks tofauti.
Naweza kawa construction yangu, mashini, mafundi
na shule yangu, wanafunzi, wafanyikazi, basi.
Na in case mimi nipate ajali.
Omera, what about my palatial residence?
Nama achia Direct Line.
Do more na Direct Line. Visit your nearest branch, agent, broker or bank assurance partner today or SMS Bima to 23454.
Direct Line. Every day is sure.
Hey, do more. Utige kukosagira ondo inumwe umenya tedegai wairathimo nyinge amune binyanyagiro ta mundu muciari etera kwigaira ciana agairathimo ciake
ungienda rwimbo ruru rwa kirathimo kingi rutuike skiza kodi thini wa thimo yaku ni undu muhuthu muno guthi thimo-ini yaku hihinya *811*339# na uririkane ati Inoro nikuo mucie wa aini othe.
Maya nĩ mamwe ma marĩa tũkũharĩirie Inoro hwainĩ.
Minister Kindiki kugatharakira iria iratabanio rũgongo rwa bũrũri ciumanĩte na ekinaĩ arĩa mehithanĩtie na raia.
Munini wa President Rigathi Gachagua kuhoreria ateti a Kirima arĩa marona ta matigĩtwo njamiario-inĩ ya gwetha ũiguano.
Nĩ tũrarĩire makuno twakora marugĩtwo na after kuria tũraikara hanini maratũthũkĩra.
Before you consume them, it is important you be sure of are they poisonous or not.
Ciana mũgwanja gũkoma thibitarĩ mwena wa Subukia na Ikuru thutha wa kũrĩa makuno marĩ na thumu.
The motion has been passed by at least 1/3 of all the members of the Assembly. The Assembly shall within 7 days appoint a committee comprising 5 of its members to investigate the matter.
na CC wa kigina kia buku hagurwo mieri 3 thutha wake kũiyũkia wabici.
Ono yoka nake akugerera iguru akuguthe
yaga kuhonokia
ni ndakwira uyu ni egukinya breki.
Wendo kama kemam uria tugwika ni atiriri kinya eyo ghost yo ithui no nginya tumimenyera tukumika.
With the power of Dettol bar soap, it cleans and protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Dettol antibacterial soap 60 grams is now 50 shillings.
gicunjĩ gĩkĩ nĩ gĩa gatatũ tũrarĩrĩria ũhoro wĩgiĩ ũtumumu wa marangi matiganĩte kana ũhoro wĩgiĩ color blindness na Dr. Patrick Kibe kuma AIC Kijabi Mission Hospital na ndagĩtarĩ tũgĩcokereria rĩu tũrore tarĩngĩ causes itiganĩte nĩ kũrĩ handũ mũndũ angĩhota gũtuĩka corrected nĩ mwana kora hi mũndũ agũkaga kwĩra ndagĩtarĩ hana ũũ agacenjerio mawĩra akĩrwo ũyũ ndũngĩruta no ũrutire wĩra ũyũ ũngĩ nĩ tondũ wa thĩna ũyũ.
Rĩrĩa tũraria ũhoro wa color blindness ungĩrora family-inĩ yanyu no one Wambui kana ũtũkĩtie baba wanyu kana mami wanyu ũguo kana twana twaku nĩ ũkuona gaka nĩ niĩ mũtheri gaka ũyũ warĩ toro nĩ ũkuona kana gaka kena maũthĩ makwa kana maku. Rĩrĩa tũraria ũhoro wa color blindness mostly tũraria ũhoro wa hereditary maũndũ marĩa mwana ũyũ oete kuma kũrĩ aciari ake. No wone rĩngĩ baba wao mami wao nĩ akoragwo na thĩna wa marangi na no ũthiĩ na ũkore baba wao mami wao ndarĩ thĩna wa marangi no guka wao rĩ nĩ arĩ na thĩna wa marangi tondũ it is genetically inherited nĩ genes na nĩ wamenya kwĩ genes cikoragwo ciĩ dominant na ingĩ ikoragwo ciĩ recessive. Rĩrĩa ndĩraria atĩ ũhoro wa dominant nĩcio ciĩho mũno atĩ akorwo nĩ dominant harĩ niĩ no kana karĩa gegũka gegũkorwo kenacio. Hena mĩrimũ mĩingĩ ĩkoragwo genetically transmitted kuma kwĩ mũndũ ũmwe gũthiĩ kũrĩ ũrĩa ũngĩ. Tarĩu no wone mĩrimũ ta sickle cell wone ĩrauma nĩkĩo gĩtũmaga wathiĩ kwĩ ndagĩtarĩ agakũria kwanyu rĩ nĩ kũrĩ mũndũ ũkoragwo na mũrimũ wa cukari kwanyu rĩ nĩ gũkoragwo kwĩna mũndũ ũkoragwo na mũrimũ wa pressure kwanyu rĩ nĩ gũkoragwo kwĩna mũndũ kwĩna maũndũ
ũrĩa ũkoraga pastor agĩkũria mũhĩrĩga.
Rĩu ũguo ũiguaga akĩũria rĩ nĩguo arore kana mĩrimũ ĩno ĩmwe mĩrimũ arakũria nĩ ĩmwe ĩthiaga na kĩ-family. Rĩu naguo rĩrĩa tũroka kwĩ color blindness rĩ still no ĩkorwo ĩgĩthiĩ na kĩ-family, it is inherited. Na koguo no wone mũciari waku ena thĩna ũcio kana ũkore aciari aku matirĩ no cũcũ kana guka rĩ ũmwe arĩ nayo no ĩgakorwo ĩtarĩ dominant thĩinĩ wa aciari aku no ũyũ akorwo enayo no wekarwo enayo harĩ kana karĩa megũthondeka rĩ gagakorwo kena thĩna ũcio wa color blindness ũrĩa warĩ na gukawe kana cũcũ wao. Ũguo rĩ inheritance nĩ njĩra ĩmwe ya gũtũma mũndũ akorwo na na thĩna cause nĩ inheritance. Number 2 nĩ kũrĩ mĩrimũ andũ magĩaga na ĩgatũma mũndũ akorwo ena color blindness. no ciaro we mwega nduri na thina wa color blindness but o urathi ugikuraga ri ungeini mirimo imwe ingituma ugie na color blindness kwa muhano andu aria makoragwo na Parkinson's disease Parkinson's disease ni murimu uria wonaga ringi mundu ni areka ate ni arainaina murimu uyu ni wa nerves na riu ri tondu ria turaria uhoro wa color blindness cells iria tukuga cietagwo cones cikoragwo in the nervous system ogwo ni ukuona ringi mundu wina mirimu fulani ta Parkinson's disease no agie na murimu uyu wa color blindness darare naguo no agie murimu uyu ukona mundu ucio nejiria kugia na thina tocio. Number 3 no wone mundu urari na murimu ta wa TB na ni aheo dawa muthemba fulani he dawa imwe cia mithemba fulani ya TB wona mundu aheo ri atarare na color blindness wahota kuona color blindness ikigia uguo dawa no citume ona to TB ika ni kuri andu angi makoretwo muno na arthritis na dawa imwe tumaheaga ri ndirenda gucigweta tondu ndacigweta we ringi ni utumiraga dawa icio na wahanjiria hota kwanjiria kugia na guoya na ndikwenda ugie na guoya ni kuri dawa imwe ona tutumiraga kuri arthritis no nacio ri no citume mundu agie na color blindness toro uguo wika kwina maundu maingi muno ndari horo wa dawa ndari horo wa mirimo ndari horo wa inheritance na ni gutuma mundu agie na na murimu uyu wa color blindness ukujirite kihinde ri turari horo wa causes na treatment na angikorwo ni genetically transmitted ri no twage dawa ya kuminengera kana ya gutreat agikorwo we thina waku wa color blindness ukite ni undu wa genetics no twage hena research irathi na mbere temwira ndirathomaga maraka researchers maraka kiria na monkeys kugeria kuona kana no mone dawa ya gutreat genetical kiria color blindness but it have not come to that dikinyete ati ni gukinya kuri andu no it is still very far uguo no juge genetically hatiri na dawa ithondeketwo ya gutreat mundu wina color blindness although ona tukiuga gutiri na dawa ni kuri miwani special glasses lenses iheanagwo kuri mundu wina color blindness no kona mundu ucio ri ni ekuhota guthii na mbere na daily activities treatment yegi agikorwo ni twakiona thina waku uroka ni undu wa murimu witagwo Parkinson's ri twike atia tuthondeke murimu ucio na wona wathondekwo ri mundu ucio ahota kuona ringi ahota kurigain color blindness agikorwo ni ekuhona tondu thina ucio ni muthina wa nerves although ekukorwo ni treatment yayo itekaga kahinda karaya muno agikorwo ni mundu uragia na thina wa color blindness ni undu wa dawa muthemba fulani ri especially aria makoragwo magithondekwo ni undu wa arthritis ri nikio gitumaga magatumwo kuri ndagitari wa maitho athie arore na kuria thutha na kuria kwina cones cells iria tuciitire cones kana cells icio cietagwo cones cia uyu ri ni irathukio ni dawa ici turamuhe cia guthondeka arthritis agikorwo ni irathukia kana iratuma mundu agie na thina ri tukarugamia dawa icio ndagitari akarugamia dawa icio akamucenjeria dawa akamuhe dawa muthemba ungi niguo twetige kumurehere thina wa color blindness agikorwo ringi ni mundu wina TB ri na hena dawa aheo cianjiria kurehe mathina maya ma color blindness ri kwina muthemba ungi ungicenjio kana combination igi ati tutuke twenda eno neno niguo tweherie no niguo mundu ndakage kugia na color blindness oguo thina uyu no urigitike agikorwo ũkĩte nĩ ũndũ wa itũmi ngũrani o tiga ũrĩa wa genetics. Ũyũ ũngĩ wothe rĩ no ũrigitĩke tondũ either nĩ kweheria kĩrĩa kĩratũma mũndũ ũcio agĩe na thĩna ũcio, kana nĩ gũthondeka mũrimũ ũcio ũhone mũndũ ũyũ acoke hali yake ya kawaida. Na ũrigiti ũngĩ rĩ nĩ kwĩra mũndũ okorwo nĩ genetically rĩ, we are sorry, no tũkũ advice ũcenjie career yaku nĩguo ũhote